Hi, oh Jesus. My brain just stopped working for a second. Hello, Quinn, Sakura, and May, and Borealis System, and Celica. Hi. One second. It's doing something, and then it's going to pop opera. Okay. Okay. Open up opera. Bam. There you go. Also, that's interesting. Is it not coming up, or is it just not working? And Chrono Trigger has a lot of good music. It's never actually played it, but the music's really good. Also, hi Abby. Is there anything new on Dancing Bacons? Yes, somehow. 3 hours ago. I wants to listen to this song just a bit too. This is Roll Me In by Game Chops. It's a like Katamari redux. It's heard the game is good, it's just never played it. It doesn't tend to play like those kinds of RPGs. Yeah, it never just tends to play those types. Yeah, it tends to start off with Dancing Bacons. It's just only uploads so many videos, you know. Oh, what a weird game service. Okay. It's hard enough of that song. Okay. Yeah, it imagines since it was G-Force. Oh, you can't hear it. There you go. OBS has reset all of its window sizes. There we go. Okay. They have a little gold certificate. Gold beef certificate. Also, it likes how this man is like, it's cheaper if you get it for lunch after still spending $280. Yeah, girls got that fucking beef certificate. $4 cookie cola. Oh, squid. Squid. That's a decent amount of meat. Okay, this meal so far already seems more reasonable than the last video we watched. You get a lot more food, seemingly. Hopefully they give you sides too. Checkmate. Ow, its ears. So loud. Well, you go to some kind of school. You get taught. You get taught how to do the things, you know? What are you gonna have? There's like several different meats here. It always feels weird calling seafood meat, though. Is that an actual thing? Or does it just feel weird about that for no reason? Oh. Damn, they're doing some weird shit to the shrimp. To the prawn. It's never seen anyone do that. Toy adding it in a video in its Discord because probably fucking Twitch shadow banned because of VPN. Prawn corruption? How is it corruption? They're just cutting them up weird. Oh, that prawn looks really good though. Yippee. 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 1 second of that one song for that one thing? No, it wasn't a ping. It played the video before briefly muting it. So I sent it this. Sobs. They have sobs. What? Rice cake farm? You gotta give sides. You gotta give like vegetable. Or else it's just fucked up. What? Right there. Rice Cake Farm World HQ. Thank you, Toy. Communal white. Fish and tomato sounds fucked up. There's something wrong about that. But what the fuck is this? What is this? What are the, like, banana chip things? No! No, fuck you. Oh, okay. For later? That's fine. You're supposed to, like, leave the fat on when you cook it. Hi, Nico. You're supposed to, like, leave the fat so it can rend while you're cooking it. You can cut it off after, but it's fucked up. Also, this is glad it's nice to see it at least. Hi, back. Yeah, it's been meaning to stream earlier, but it just got a little busy. It was gonna stream like 2 hours earlier, and it kind of just didn't happen. Vegetable. More vegetable. Damn, they get a salad and vegetable. This is immediately much better than the last one. Cognac jelly. What is cognac again? It is expensive. It's $280. Expensive food is good though. Like it's expensive, yeah, but it's good food. Yeah. You can make an $8 steak pretty good. Oh, oh, good color. It's been having trouble getting its steaks medium rare lately. Pork is good too sometimes. It's a lot easier to have a pretty mid pork chop compared to like a mid steak, it thinks. Pork chops are always kind of just like, they're really easy to make dry because there's not much fat content and stuff like that. And when there is fat, it doesn't tend to like melt into the meat. What? Vegetable. Wow. I didn't actually know this. Okay. Have good sleep. It'll try to stream earlier whenever next time. No promises though. You're overestimating the price of rice there, Celica. Yeah, it's saying you're overestimating. 4.50 a meal. It would be like $3 or like $2 a meal. Hi, Jenny. Are you at work? What is this? What is this thing? What is this object? What? Bitten. See, it doesn't like those kinds of meals so much because oh yeah. Um Garlic chips sounds good, but like beans, lentils, and rice, right? Doesn't like those because it's texturally all kind of the same. Like beans and rice, just kind of mush. Which also like it knows beans are protein, but prefers meat for proteins, especially because you get a lot of the like other stuff. Also fucked up, Jenny. Going to sleep at 7 a.m. That's fucked up. Yeah. Yeah, no. A lot of vegan stuff is just kind of unpleasant sensorily and such. I, it's it's it, it's an indirect kiss almost. Harvested. They are harvesting the Kobe fat. Oh, they get rice too. It kind of dislikes the order in which they cook everything. No, leave all of that garlic in the rice. It would be so good. Yeah. Yeah, metamor is an indirect kiss with your actual, like, partner. Why are these videos always so loud? Also, why is YouTube advertising it the fucking Fifth Element movie under this? Yeah. And it means even without that, a lot of autistic people have, like, sensory issues with food. Nice fruit. Uh, this is just a big pan. It's called teppanyaki. It's like a grill. Unknown powder. Very cool. Teppanyaki. Yeah. Its voice is a little scuffed. That's just how it is, though. This fried rice has too little oil. Ketamine rice. Ketamine rice. Ketamine rice. You know, it probably was like MSG, huh? No. Or sure, give it your debit card. Hi, Tet. Soup. It normally doesn't like miso soup, but it's found some of it's really, really good. Cube. Rice square. Yeah, teppanyaki. What an interesting way to portion rice. I guess it's because they're getting it crispy on both sides. It likes its fried rice a little less dry, I think. A little more moisture. Benihana unironically does, like, extremely good fried rice. Crispy rice is okay. It's been eating, like, a lot of rice because it's trying to put on weight to stop being twiggy as hell. And whenever the rice gets crispy in the cooker, it doesn't like it so much. Especially because it eats the rice plain half the time. Because it's just trying to eat rice. Liquid. Fuck, dude, it sure is. Puppy doll soft tummy art. It's always kind of had squishy tummy, slightly. But under that, it has abs. It has solid abs under the tummy squish it has. You just can't see them. See, those cost money. Rice is cheap as hell and it just throws it in the rice cooker. Puppy tummy feel. Clock 19x. Yeah. You go to bite the tummy and you just get like Kydex and polymer frame. Ah, sniffies. But yeah, no, it doesn't eat the plain rice as a meal. It has it in conjunction with its meals. It has meals and then it has like a cup or two of rice. Like after dinner usually. Also, hi David. It's actually hungry right now. It kind of wants to make rice. It only has had, well, it had its normal protein shake and, what is it called? Oatmeal bar. But for lunch, it only had a banana and a donut. So it's kind of hungry. Cooking stream. Also, it's never once played Fortnite. The singular time it did was when its phone released, which is like a Note 9. They were doing like a thing of like, oh, you get like a bunch of stuff in Fortnite if you download it on your phone and play it. And it was like, okay, it'll try to play Fortnite with its cousins since they like Fortnite. And so it downloaded it and it took forever. And it tried to play it and it was so laggy because it was a phone, which is like a 7-year-old phone now. You are functionally a cousin that likes Fortnite, yeah. Also, Celica, it saw you say we should play games. It has no idea what that would be. That used to be like... We would play like Final Fantasy, right? But it doesn't have the money for Final Fantasy subscription as of late. Also, yeah, no. If it was gonna play Fortnite, it would play the mode where you can't build. That seems to actually make Fortnite, like, good. Financing the $14 for Final Fantasy. It's also partially that, it's unsure if it has the attention span. It is on stimulants now, as opposed to last year when we did, Final Fantasy. It didn't really have the attention span at all. After a while, so it kind of just ran around. But it does have stimulants now, so maybe it'd be better. But also it still feels slightly... like, slightly directionless. Also, wow, its throat is a little scratchy. It would be such little sightseeing, though. It's only gotten, like, one DLC done. We could do, like, COD, yeah. Its found shooters tend to do kind of worse on Twitch. Which, once again, it doesn't have a problem with just playing whatever the fuck it wants. But it does like when it has people to talk to. That's why it hangs out here. This machine is not very interesting. It expected the machine. Oh, it does drop it automatically. That's kind of cool. Ah. Thank you for the resubscription. The food's not even being rotated, though. It's not rotating at all. Yeah, it's nice to... Oh, fuck, it dips it too. That's cool. It's nice to chat. The dipper. Is this a small dipper or a big dipper? Celica's declared it a big dipper. Medium dipper, it thinks that's acceptable. Yeah, medium dipper sounds about right. Middle dipper. Big. Celica middle confirmed. Celica middle confirmed. These all look slightly undercooked. They're not like crisp enough. Like they're cooked for sure. But they don't got any flavor. Yeah, no, to be real, Celica middle is pretty obvious. College and... And posture check, it's mostly sitting up fine. It'll fix it a little bit. It thinks it's found when it streams, it needs to have its armrests down a lot lower. Because to have proper posture when it streams, it's like hands are usually in its lap instead of on its desk. And it like hurts its back so much to have them like as high as normal, but in its lap. Because its armrests are like as high as they can go when it's actually using its computer. A middle is like a little, but like a teenager. Like a preteen to a teenager. This machine boring as hell.
You can cook yourself, and this is teach you how to cook, how to prepare the food. Yes, we have this also.
Oh, it's this one. Here's a more interesting machine. Does this one have captions? No. Okay. It forgot why it had this video bookmark. But it's because of this. Look, it shows you on the left. It's a rice washing machine. It shows you on the left like how clear the water is while it's washing the rice.
Now the machine is washing the rice. Now the washing and water come out and wash.
Rice washing machine. What a machine. They should put grills in there. Grill washing machine. Oh.
We will soup the rice. 30 minutes, then we cook. The water level.
Big rice cooker. Wait. Rice portioning machine.
Hi, sorry, one extra rice, right? Yeah, plus one extra rice. You take money.
Is this a rice cooker that also, like, dispenses it? Advanced technology. So much sauce. This looks good. This looks good. At the start, it thought they were just going to give you singular yakitori skewers. Okay, Jenny. Also, it wants rice. It's very tempted to go make rice. And then wait for it. And then probably not hear when the rice cooker is done. And it sit there in the warming mode forever and get too crispy. Oh, those are quail eggs. I had no idea what those were. Making rice is so much work, though. Even though it really isn't. It's so tempted to watch more MRE videos, but the way Steve talks kind of does psychic damage to it. Just the way he speaks, it hurts it. It hurts it greatly. Also, just realized we kind of only watch videos about Japan, but that's not even intentional. It's because we were watching Dancing Bacon's videos for a while, and then the algorithm just recommended these other things. Okay, that's cute. That's a cute little tone. Train girl. It likes when the train stations have mascots. Also, this village looks really cute. What the fuck? The dude who runs the temple will pick you up and drive you to stay there. Yeah, he goes to has he gone to China? It's never actually seen a video of him in China, but it's seen Singapore and Malaysia. He lives in Singapore, I think. Yeah, Tet train girl. Doggy. Founded in 1313. Wow. So long ago. Mobile phones already out of service. It wishes Opal was here. Opal would like that. $68 a person? Like, for how long? Like, infinite? She? No. It's never heard of. Oh, to stay here, you have to do work. Okay. Interesting. It likes riding, but its motor disorder makes it kinda finicky. doesn't tell you the meaning of the content, just tells you the theme. Write your wish and your name. Wow. This marker looks kind of fucked up. Also, there was a caption for like 0.1 seconds. Take what you have written home. Okay. It's very pretty. It really wants to go camping again. What the fuck does that mean, Celica? What is this? What does that mean? What? What the fuck is this? Huh? Okay. Okay, thought it was just gonna be the shower for a second. It was expecting a little tub thing like this, but then it saw just the shower and it was like, oh. It's actually not impressive, but this is fine. It's so pretty. It wants to go camping. It doesn't know how to go camping. It can't drive. It wants to go camping though. Whoa. Very good. The sign is just made out of cardboard. Your camp is really good.
マカハンに絡めた心経、先ほど皆さん書いた般若心経ですけれども、これを、これから一緒に読みます。
Your camp's really cute. It has a little Nadeshko figure that Wednesday bought it. Did he fade out? I thought he just went off the side of the screen. Your camp very good. He exploded. This seems like an interesting experience to pay for. It gets it so the temple can like stay open, but the vibrations got to the camera for a second there. It got all blurry. That's not censoring their faces very well. that you didn't do that good of a job. Fired. Okay. 6:50 p.m. They still have time until dinner? Fuck God. It eats dinner at like 5 or else it like gets so hungry. You can freely participate in reading and copying, okay. It doubts it's Christian inspired? This is like a Buddhist temple specifically, I think. Yeah. Dog! The dog just randomly joined them. Party member get. There's 3 of them. There's these 2 and one like way in the back. It's always kind of weird to see golden retrievers in Japan. Like, it's not wrong, but it's just like... It makes it think it's in like fucking Seattle or something. He has 6 of them. Six of them. I guess those are more labs than retrievers. $7:35 p.m. for dinner. That's not that much food. Okay, that's still kind of a light meal for it. Okay. With the rice, that's probably fine. It's still not that much. What is that? It doesn't know what the little... What the hell? Crunchy. Pineapple, maybe. It looked like way too big for pineapple. Oh, it wants rice.
ここでそれだと皆さんに響かないと思うんで、皆さんの方からこんな話題で話してほしいとか、こんなことを聞いてみたいっていうのがありましたら、それに対してお話をします。
Making rice too much work. And also if it takes a BRB longer than like 3 minutes, sometimes like half of everyone leaves. Because that's how Twitch works. And it's a bit perplexing. It does have microwave rice, but they're not white rice. They're like seasoned rice.
なんか食うってね、般若心経の食うって言われたって、もうそれはこう我々には関係ないよってね、皆さん思ってるかもしれないんだけど、そういう世界なんだっていう。
Why is he wearing his glasses now but wasn't earlier?
なんか食うってちょっと聞いてみようか。ね、なんかね、こうすごい
Yeah.
パワー持ってるものなんじゃないかっていうのをなんとなく皆さんの中でちょっとこう思っていた。
It wants a futon. It said this last time, but it wants a futon. All you have to do is sleep. What else would you do? Ready. Futons are good. Half because you can just like roll them up, and then you have like a whole bedroom. Doggy. El Woo. Trotting. Waking up early is good. I got up at 7 for once. Doesn't know why, but it kept having trouble, like, getting up early. But it's been able to lately. Doggy. Ball. Ball time. Ball. That's like ideal. It wants to get up at 6. The problem is usually that it wakes up pretty early and then it falls back asleep. Doggy cart. Car for doggy. Oh! Doggy in the waterfall. Also, it hates alarm. And its internal clock is actually really good. It wakes up whenever it wants to, it just falls back asleep. Because it's tired. And, oh, wow. Why is its throat so messed up? It wakes up whenever it wants. That's fine. It just lets itself go back to sleep. It's been fine though, it woke up at 7. It woke up at like 8 yesterday. It thinks it just, oh yeah, it doesn't have any obligations, it's just nice. It's just nice to get up earlier. It's nice to see the sunrise. Wow. Big room.
入る時の作法としまして、入る手前でまず合掌して頭を入りますと今度は症状水の中にもう一度頭をで真ん中は主賓って言って大切なお客様のために開けておいて自分がこの襟を反ったこれが作法だったりします。
I never knew that was a thing inside too. I knew that was a thing outside at some temples. Yeah, Wednesday does this. Wednesday wakes up at like 12. Because it goes to bed at like anywhere from 3 a.m. to 6 a.m. And it has to poke it awake. Futon is a thinner kind of mattress, like, technically. Oh, pretty. It's like not a hard mattress. It's more of like a really padded mat. Yeah, here we go. Than a mattress. And you can like roll it up and stuff and like wash it and everything. Where there we are. Yeah. Oh no. Yeah, if it ever adds anything to rice, it's usually just like a bay leaf. Or 2. At least when it's cooking. Sometimes it does like soy sauce and like pepper powders and stuff after. You feel weird. It finds these kind of views less pretty than like just being in the woods though. Pour it. It needs to make fried rice itself at some point. It's kind of a lot of work though. It has like, you know, soy sauce and sesame oil and all that, but it doesn't have like, it doesn't normally have eggs because they're usually too much work. And it doesn't usually have like green onion or anything. Doggy, ear inside out. Dummy, ear inside out. Little dummy. Little dummy have ear inside out. Really good. Yeah, it just stopped buying eggs because of this. It used to buy eggs sometimes. And then that would happen. Oh, should check if Hazel has any videos. Ranking anime Denny's? That sounds good. Well, watch ranking anime Denny's. Okay, the question is though, it can go make rice in its rice cooker, but it has to make a shit ton of rice for dinner, cause it's gonna make tikka masala, and it's gonna have to make rice for that, and it doesn't know if it wants to make rice 2 times in a day. So it doesn't know if it wants to go make rice.
I live in the western coastal United States. The prevailing image of the Denny's restaurant is that of an establishment you only go to when you've got nowhere else to go. Living and dying by the near universal truth that they are always open, no matter when or where you are. It is as much a place for burning off a hangover at noon as it is a place where your hangover will set in at 3 a.m. because it's the only place in walking distance that will let you in the doors. The food is, by most any standard
eggs aren't
of
that expensive.
Poor. My brain refuses to untangle an intrinsic risk association with any eggs from the establishment that aren't nearly bone dry. I was once driving somewhere with an old roommate, and when he pulled into a Denny's parking lot to figure out some directions, the first thing we saw was someone casually exiting the restaurant and immediately puking in a bush. Notions about the restaurant chain's cumulative
What kind of Denny's are you going to that you're getting food poisoning? What? Huh? Eggs were like expensive for a bit because like a eggplant caught on fire, and then a bunch of companies used it to artificially inflate prices. What the fuck? How are you getting food poisoning at fucking Denny's? It's gone to so many Denny's and been fine. And it'll eat like steak and eggs and omelets from Denny's. The thing it orders at Denny's every single time it goes is an omelet. and it's been fine.
Atmosphere is hardly an improvement on the food itself either. If you go there past a certain time of night, you're just
Mulholland
going to
Drive.
have to deal with someone wearing more layers of clothing than seasonally appropriate, making some kind of scene while you're there. Chances are it'll be fine, just tip your waiter something extra for the trouble. Infamously, the Denny's in my hometown was the backdrop to a stabbing in my senior year of high school, and several years prior, a brass-knuckle brawl took place outside a Denny's a town over. Neither
Who
of these
cares?
events dissuaded me
It's not gonna lie. That doesn't mean anything to it. Anyone can get stabbed anywhere. If it happens at a Denny's, that doesn't mean anything. If someone gets the shit beat out of them at a Denny's, that's not indicative of Denny's.
from eating there, however. I mean, when you're a dumb kid from a small town, you need somewhere to go, and free coffee refills is a deal you just cannot pass up. With all of this in mind, it may surprise you to learn that, nah, I'm not gonna patronize you. Look, the archetype of American thing that Japan does better is pretty ubiquitous even among non-weeaboos. Did you know that Japanese 7-Eleven is actually epic? Clearly you don't know the joy of getting a first-degree burn from pouring nacho cheese into an open bag of Doritos.
What?
There are
What?
countless
What?
articles
Why the
and
fuck did you
videos
do
on
that?
the internet.
Huh? Hazel, what the fuck? Why are you putting nacho cheese on yourself? Stop
about
it.
How Japanese Denny's is way different from American Denny's, but just in case this is new to you, yeah, they're considered pretty high quality establishments in Japan. They've got a far larger menu that, in addition to their vision of American food, incorporates both Japanese cuisine and a seemingly limitless array of desserts. They also have a drink bar. The family restaurant is an institution unto itself over there, by which standard, Japanese Denny's isn't really anything too terribly special. Gusto, Royal Host, Joyful, Coco's, they all follow a similar formula.
That place looks
But
good.
yeah, for as much ink has been spilled on Japanese Denny's divergence from its source brand,
It really heard Japanese Denny's diapers, and it was like, what the fuck?
few English language resources interrogate just how this came to be, and because I can't help myself, I did some reading up on it. Turns out it's not an especially interesting story, so here it is in as few words as possible. The first Japanese Denny's opened in Yokohama in 1974 following a deal between Denny's corporate and Ito Yokado the year
Wearing
prior.
the Japanese
My
Denny's
understanding is that
diaper.
the restaurant chain's first decade of operation was mostly centered on acting as a facsimile of an American restaurant, and didn't really stray from the American menu, likely because they had a pretty restrictive deal with Denny's home base.
Yeah, Hazel uses like a lot of music. And yo, Yokohama shopping lot. Yeah, here's everything in the trauma center. Trauma center, gentle breeze, hell yeah, baby.
In 1984, Ito Yokado bought the trademark for the Japanese market outright, which allowed them to incorporate pretty much any menu items they wanted and do more or less whatever they wanted with the brand. You can see this reflected in how Japanese Denny's restaurants still use an older logo, as well as some of their brand
Hello Kitty.
collaborations, which we'll get into.
Hello Kitty,
Most
Denny.
endemically, though, I feel you can see it in their relationship with a particular artist in the 90s. Through
Who?
the 90s, though specific
Huh?
dates are difficult to pinpoint. The man himself says it started in 92, and I've seen folks
Who?
anecdotally say that it ended in 97. Denny's partnered with illustrator Hisashi Eguchi, who would provide art for their menus, create a one-off manga that I cannot find any
Denny's
pictures
manga.
of, and design the characters for
Denny's
a handful
manga.
of commercials. The one with the DILF and his kids
What?
is probably the most famous. but
Huh?
This one for their summer
Stop
special
that.
is my favorite.
Stop calling any dad a DILF. Stop it. Stop doing that. Stop it. Stop it. Tomahawk missile into your house.
デニーズスタミナメニュー刺激メニュー
So cute. However, I would simply be remiss not to mention the Denny's Hisashi Eguchi commercial that featured a sweepstakes where you could win a Fujitsu FM Towns Marty. Much love to the birthplace of Asuka 120%. There was probably some other stuff too, magazine advertisements I'm guessing, but I'm not an expert. I am a big fan though. Depending on the day, Eguchi is my favorite artist, period, and I just love these pieces so much. His adaptation of Aging
They made a Denny's look cute.
Americana as status symbol pop art ethos is weirdly perfect for Denny's because his work shines with class as much as it bleeds common
Blue
comfort.
card. I didn't
Suzuki
see.
actually did
There's a
do
blue
work for
card.
Denny's in the 80s, presumably 84, when the trademark purchase occurred, but I'm not positive. And it's also great, but Eguchi's work for the company feels like the singular vision of what Denny's aims to be for the Japanese market. Somewhere everyone can eat a good meal, take their time, and make some memories in. And I get the feeling Eguchi's commercials are, if not among the most well-remembered commercials Denny's Japan ever ran, so job well done. That being said, Japanese Denny's never had a Sonic
here's the video.
Underground promotion, so fuck
What?
him, trash.
What?
Listen,
Huh?
I mean, so, job well done. That being said, Japanese Denny's never had a Sonic
American Denny's had a Sonic Underground promotion?
so fuck him, trash.
Wild.
Listen, I made my intentions clear in the title of this video. Off-brand Denny's restaurants show up like all the time in anime and manga, and I always think it's really funny. And the idea
Sonic
that something to rank them
Underground.
based on what small glimpses I can get from them
Oh, Kashu Teku.
was too stupid an idea for me to pass up. I've got like 30 some odd entries here. Just know that this is not remotely comprehensive and it's all for fun. Rather than using graded tiers or creating a numbered list, my ranking system is going to be based
No,
around the
no, it
Denny's
doesn't
menu
want to see this
itself.
ad.
The
No.
American one, I mean.
No, it doesn't
But I'll
like this
explain the
ad.
tiers as we go. Just know that I am only basing my ratings on the restaurants themselves, not the shows. I've not even seen most of these. In addition, just know that there's no particular order, just what flowed best for the script. Lastly, I'm only counting the stuff that I feel I can definitively say are supposed to be Denny's. So, for example, Gardenia from Gamers is disqualified, as
What
is
the fuck is
Waganaria
Gardenia?
from Working, both of which I suspect are based on the family restaurant Sizeria. This also means I can't include
Sizeria.
Space Dandy's Boobies because it's a parody of Hooters. Needless to say, that would be top tier if I could. This too tragically excludes most Anna Miller's style restaurants. See my video on Lucky Star's return to publication for more on Anna Miller's, including the PC98 game Pie Restaurant Anna Middlers. It wouldn't be mid in my heart.
Middler.
Knowing all of my arbitrary guidelines, it may seem strange for me to start with
Tawny's.
Johnny's from Toradora.
Oh, no,
With a name
Johnny's.
like that, it's gotta be based on Jonathan's, another Japanese family restaurant, right? Well, I find this is a pretty instructive example. See how weird the shape of this restaurant is? Stairs up to the restaurant entrance, parking below, super distinctive, right? It's based on a real-life Denny's location, specifically the Hatagaya joint in Shibuya. I'm not going to become an expert on each and every one of the Denny's restaurants in Japan in order to judge
Why not?
each and every location
You should
on
do
its
that.
accuracy or anything like that, but it definitely had to be a factor in including a few of these. As for the Toradora
You know what, I was gonna ask
restaurant,
Wednesday
it looks
to
very
microwave
clean.
this in.
They're hiring for part-time employees, so hopefully they're not putting too much strain on the employees they do have. The Parfait Taiga orders is quite ornate, which is true to life, although it's not really my style. Gotta give
The
it to
plural
them
of
for
Denny.
incorporating the Anna Miller style uniform into the attire here.
Denny.
In truth, Denny's uniforms are very utilitarian, and therefore plenty of anime decide they need to variate on it. Although Toradora is, all things considered, a grounded enough show that the base uniform would have fit just fine. I'm gonna give Johnny's a hash browns. You can't really...
It didn't mean it like that, but yes. Yes, it should absolutely be Denny, like Triari. Like the fucking Latin double I for pluralization. Absolutely.
go wrong with it, but it's hardly a centerpiece. Next up is what I can only assume is the free Iwatobi swim club we have at home on ice, Skate Leading Stars, with
What?
its restaurant Dairies.
Dairy.
The corner seat setup here, and the bricks feel pretty
That-
unique among
oh.
other anime restaurant, Dairies.
That guy's
I like
anatomy.
the corner seats.
Look at this shirt and his like collarbones and everything. Holy shit.
Set up here, and the bricks feel pretty unique among other anime Denny's, but all these twinks do is yell the whole time they're here. If this is the kind of clientele they're fostering, I can't say I'm particularly interested in spending my time there. Junior chocolate chip pancakes for this one, wherein the implication that a reasonable portion of chocolate chip pancakes must be deemed junior is fundamentally patronizing, and they
What?
don't even draw a smiley face with whipped cream or whatever.
What?
Another arguably mixed case, Sket Dance brings up Annie.
Is she rating them based on how... Is her rating scale not like 1 through 5, but rather Denny's menu items that are good or not?
Or
That
maybe
kind
Annie.
of rule.
The apostrophe placement is, needless to say, inspired, and while the name recalls
Biting
both
you, Celica.
Denny's and Anna Miller's, the uniform feels
Biting
more like
Celica.
Jonathan's. In the end, though, the building exterior
Exploding
shouts Denny's
Celica.
to me, so I'm counting it here. Again, I'm playing fast and loose here. If you want to strike it from your own internal record, be my guest. There's some manga magazines in the entryway. Not sure if these are purchasable or just there to leaf through while you're at the establishment, but I quite like that. The cast never orders any food, but from the food menu, you can see they have a pretty solid looking
Wednesday,
hamburger steak.
microwaved
This
it
one gets
a
an everyday
breakfast sandwich because
value
it ate.
slam. Nothing elevates it to a higher echelon, but its purpose is well served in all respects. Meanwhile,
Pancake.
Dunny's, courtesy of School Days, has a rather dull menu. Dull-looking desserts. Dull, dull, dull. This one gets
What?
a fish and chips.
What?
You don't want to order fish and chips from fucking Denny's, man.
What?
If I'm being dull-looking desserts.
What? Hazel is wrong on this one. It would be like astonishing to get a piece of cake that nice from a Denny's. That would be like a fucking miracle.
Dull, dull, dull. This one gets a fish and chips. You don't want to
It would also totally order fish and chips from a Denny if it felt like it. From a Denny's. It wouldn't be great. It would be
order
fine.
fish and chips from fucking Denny's, man. If I'm being perfectly honest,
She's also
with you,
spoiled, though.
I'm
She
feeling a
lives in
little out of my
Washington.
depth with Kaioi Chugaku. It feels somewhere between.
Does it trust the Denny's fish and chips? It's frozen as hell. How would you manage to get like food poisoning? That shit's like frozen to hell and back. It would be like fine, probably.
Shit you saw on Adult Swim in 2000.
But like Hazel is spoiled because she lives in Washington where they have actual good fish and chips regularly. But huh? Huh? Bat, what? Huh? What kind of fish and chips are you eating that has bones in it? What? That's scary. Fish fillets don't have bones in them.
2002
That's
because
scary.
you woke up in the middle of the night in a cold sweat with the TV on and shit you caught glimpses of on the TVs at Chuck E. Cheese.
Fish and
at your
chips
shitty
doesn't
old
have
cousin's
fucking bones
stupid
in it.
birthday party in 2005, but nonetheless,
It's fish
this
and
signature
chips.
family restaurant, Rennie's, leaves something to be desired. I'm sure their Hamburg steak is fine, but the assorted vegetable side looks like it's probably just frozen and not especially seasoned. The uniforms feel much more like a burger joint to me. Nothing wrong with that, though. Another junior chocolate chip pancakes
That's
here.
fucked up.
Would you
It's never had
believe that
any
Kubo
cheap
won't
fish
let me
fillet
be
ever have
invisible?
bones.
Tenny's has bova. No other anime
huh?
business has.
Fucking shark meat? What? What the fuck is going on in France, in Corsica? This is perplexing to it.
Has such a
Shark
thing.
meat
That
fishy
being said,
chip?
though, the whole joint's got kind
Scary.
of a cheap film set feel, like everything's made of particle board or something. Hash browns for originality on this one. Alright, here's a weird one. In Gintama's third episode, and probably more, I don't know, you can see in the background there's a sign for a Denny's written in hiragana, and they never go there, so you can't really get much more than that. I mean, again, I think so many episodes.
What
With an
is she doing?
incomplete picture in mind, I gotta give this one egg. Like,
Egg.
There are hundreds of ways to prepare eggs. Just egg is not descriptive
Egg.
enough. It's an unknown entity. Anime Denny's love parfaits. It loves giving its anime girls parfaits. Not as many anime love giving their anime girls Red Bulls, but I guess we can consider New Game one of the chosen few. Few, though, it is not one of
Parfaits
the anime
are
in
so
the world
fucking
that
good.
features a Danny's restaurant.
Danny's.
I like the
Shark
interior
backpack.
design on this one. High up shelving with the potted plants. Classy stuff. I'm feeling a light everyday value slam.
Y'all have no idea how badly it wishes it wasn't like illegal to like stream. Hey, to stream anime on like Twitch. It wishes so fucking badly it could just do that. It would totally just watch Eurocamp on stream with y'all. Or like these random ass animes. It would watch Isokin on stream. It wishes it could do that so bad.
Tokyo.
Discord isn't the same. Discord isn't streaming. Also, everyone's talking on Discord, which is fine. It's fine watching things with friends and talking about it. But streaming is better for it slightly. Cause the autism.
Tokyo Revengers gives us Danny's with the green logo. Sure. Denny's was originally named Danny's Donuts. Makes sense. Somewhat infamously, Danny's Donuts was not named after any particular Danny. Very mysterious. It's unclear if the Danny in Tokyo Revengers is Danny's is any particular.
Also, you could fix this, sure, by having everyone just be like muted. But it hates that more. It hates watch togethers where you're not allowed to talk so badly. Like, if you're gonna watch stuff in a Discord together, you better let it fucking talk. It's gonna go like batshit insane if it doesn't get to speak while watching something. As you can see by it streaming videos every day. It likes to talk while watching things and it helps it process things. And also it's just nice to talk about. So when someone's streaming like a movie on Discord or like anime or something and you join and everyone's muted, it's like it makes it feel like it's in like a fucking cage that is like extremely too small. It wants to start just like fucking clawing at shit and like destroying things. Yeah, that's kind of its point. Why watch something together, especially on Discord, if you can't talk about it?
The weaved basket patterns on the backrests. They've got those little call buttons that Japanese Denny's implemented sometime in the 2010s. As you can see, the guys here have cleaned their plates, which is probably a good sign. Hash browns. Here's the Denny's from Fuka, also home to a crispy pie restaurant. Very nice.
What?
These guys have also finished their meals when we cut in. Must be edible at least. We actually do get a parfait, which, like all the others, looks like too much. Man, it just looks so sterile in here. Junior chocolate chip pancakes, I
Fuck
think.
you, Hazel.
Another lovely Danny's can be found in Beck. The exterior gives it a very 50s
Yeah, that's how Twitter is sometimes.
diner feeling that a lot of others don't, and while the interior is pretty uncommon worthy, Beck's Danny's benefits from the show's frequent use of licensed music. This marks, I think, the only anime Denny's I've found that has diegetic music. At least diegetic pop music with vocals. Just like real life Denny's. For that alone, it gets the coveted Grand Slam rating.
Wow.
Live.
She gave that one such a high rating just because it had music. She didn't rate anything else. She just rated the music.
Features perhaps the least coherent shot composition and backgrounds of the night. Like, we go from a shot of the Danny's parking lot to a shot of a subway exit with a sign for Danny's featuring a picture of the Danny's location to the Danny's exterior, and then they never enter it. And later that same episode, part of the city gets destroyed, and like I assume
they blow up the
Danny's
fucking
is
Danny's.
part of the wreckage, so I guess we'll never know what the interior is like. I
They
mean, I'll
blow up
probably never
Danny.
know. I really don't need to know. It's gonna be
You'd need
big.
to know.
Final Danny's seems to appear in one of the high definition era Detective Conan episodes, but there are
Detective Conan.
literally over 1,000 of those, so this single Bigfoot sighting-esque picture is all I have to go off. Yet one more egg.
watch the whole series to find Danny's.
Demi's,
Fuck
or
you.
perhaps Demise, is brought to us courtesy of an anime from this very year, Mo Ippon. Good to know the anime Denny's ecosystem is still healthy. Once upon a time in my hometown, my old roommate and I would religiously refer to Denny's as Demis, 2 M's. No
Why?
recollection of how that started, but this Demis brings back fond memories of being really fucking hungover and eating sourdough toast. I'll
Incredible.
admit, I've only no recollection
Incredible.
of how
She
that
ate the
started,
bread.
but this Demis brings back fond memories of being
Hey, Jenny.
really fucking hungover and eating
Incredible. It's taking an even lower res screenshot of this. Incredible. And then it's sending it to Wednesday.
sourdough toast. I'll admit, I've
Costco
only
hot
seen
dog.
the first episode of this show, but I've got a maybe surprising, maybe not
huh?
soft spot for mid.
Not from Costco, though. How? How do you get packs of Costco
girl
hot
sports
dog?
anime. Princess Nine Heads Shout Me Out. That first episode's theme of being so exhausted by all the parts of a passion that suck that you mistakenly think you don't even enjoy it at all, and being almost unwilling to let yourself admit how much you do enjoy it for how much it.
But frozen hot dog? That's fucked up. Also, yeah, that's pretty bad. There's a reason Pepe emotes are banned on its channel.
simultaneously hurts. I don't know, man. It's something I can relate to on a lot of levels. This isn't
Okay,
about
Coolers
any
is
bullshit
fine.
like that, though. This is about Denny's, and this one is pretty good looking. Very pretty omurice in their menus. The girls have cleaned their plates and are even going back for seconds. The parfait is nothing to write home
Parfait.
about, but that is
Lesbian
fine by me.
parfait.
Everyday value slam. In Tenchi and Tokyo's 5th episode, we briefly see a Donnie's restaurant where Mihoshi and Kyone,
Jenny, do you
in
wanna
their
go to
continuing
Denny's?
adventures in Earth poverty, work for a total of 1 shift before Mihoshi manages to literally explode the entire restaurant. It breaks my heart to have to
Denny's
do this because
explosion.
I love these two, but nobody should have to eat exploded
Holy
food,
shit,
so
they
I'm
killed
awarding this
people.
one with the worst possible rating. 2 moons over my hammy. About as pleasant as the sense of shame that washes over. Worst possible rating. 2
There's no way that that's the worst item on the
moons
Denny's menu. There's no way. Like, it doesn't sound very texturally pleasant.
over my hammy. About as pleasant as the sense of shame that washes over you when you, as a grown adult, have to order something with a name so infantilizing. An embarrassment both to you and to your server when they then have to repeat it back at you. It doesn't get lower than that. As an aside,
That's also not that bad. The name does suck, but of the, like, embarrassing shit you have to tell your server, that's not that fucking bad. That's not that bad. That's not that bad. It struggles to find an example, but there have been things on menus it's looked at and been like, damn, it doesn't want to say that. It would, and it wouldn't be that embarrassing because the server would understand that it's just trying to order something off the menu. So it's not that bad. But like 2 moons over my hammy, that's like one of the least embarrassing gimmick names.
this episode also features a Doremi pizza, which is also the name of an establishment
Yeah.
in the Sega game Rent a Hero #1. I imagine they're either both referencing the same thing I'm not familiar with, or it's a very strange coincidence. Rent a Girlfriend serves up a rather middle-of-the-road establishment, also by the name of Donnie's, whose lived-in quality is conveyed
Okay,
by
bad
haphazard,
people.
scratchy brushwork all over the backgrounds. Though rest assured, it's a
Wow, she's
perfectly clean
typing with like
location.
4
We can
fingers
see,
on her
thanks to
phone.
the shot of a girl's ass, that
fucked
there's
up.
no gum stuck under the table. Woohoo! I really like this cherry blossom teacup, whose design is perhaps slightly more in line with the feel of the manga's
What the fuck
rendition.
are they talking about? They're wrong. 2 moons over my hammy is not the worst fucking most embarrassing thing. Fuck off. Exploding this list. Exploding this list. Exploding this list forever. Fuck off. Explode the Smithsonian Magazine columnist Lisa Bramman. Joey Bag of Donuts? That's not... What? That's not that bad. This is pretty bad. They only had 4 dishes on there. Chicken Parmesan tanglers. It's a weird thing to say, but that's not embarrassing. Quesadilla explosion salad. It does kind of hurt to say, but it's not that embarrassing besides your waiter being like, what the fuck? Hot fish. Not that bad. Uncle Herschel's favorite. Kinda bad, but not embarrassing. Chicken Thunder from Down... Or Chocolate Thunder from Down Under. That's a bit over medium bad, yeah. Also, like, the thing is, most of these aren't even, like, that kiddie or embarrassing. Burn in Love. It does dislike that one vehemently. It wouldn't want to order a Burn in Love. Not because it's embarrassing, it just hates it. Gotta Have It. It feels like that one's normal enough. Texas Manhandler with Devil Spit. Yeah, it's kind of stupid. Screamin' Nacho Burger. Not that bad. Especially from Buffalo Wild Wings. If you're going to Buffalo Wild Wings, of course you're gonna say some stupid shit off the menu. It's Buffalo Wild Wings. What the fuck is this forum? I support Meg Griffin because no one else does. What a forum signature. Fly Me to the Waffle Moon? That one sucks, and it would hate that just because it's too wordy. Rudy Tooty Fresh and Fruity. It does hate, but that's mostly just because it's way too fucking long. So if you like go up to your waiter and you're like, can I get a Rudy Tooty Fresh and Fruity? It's like, it's way too much. That's way too much to say. Fuck that. Why is there articles? There's a location at the top, but it's wrong, so it doesn't really care. That's nowhere near it. It doesn't really care.
And with the floral embroidery on the booths.
Also, yeah, you can just ask for like a Rudy Tooty, which is still kind of stupid, but not that bad.
As not just a place to eat, but a place to be. The characters never order any food, they just use the joint to chat. The drinks, even, are secondary. This might be sort of hard to wrap your head around if, like me, you're an American, because I find there's somewhat of a taboo around both going to a restaurant and not ordering anything, or staying too long after you've finished your meal. But family restaurants have the...
Yeah, if you go to a Denny's, you can sit there however long you want, as long as it's not like a Sunday after church.
Cafe-like appeal, where you're fine to post up for hours on end.
Yeah.
Something especially
Denny's
popular among students, hence their prominence in anime about high school.
Or like a KFC.
My understanding is that this is something
you can sit at a KFC for like 12 hours.
With time, rather than always having this association. If this was always a primary utility, they'd probably be called something other than family restaurants, after all. But for all the texts I've imported for video research, I decided I would pass on this book on family restaurants, because though it sounds genuinely quite interesting, I mean, this is a fucking video about bootleg anime Denny's. If I let mission creep set in for even a premise this stupid, I'll never release another video. Hash browns for Rent-A-Girlfriend.
Shut up.
While I'm excluding manga from this list, once again,
Mixed
to keep the
steaks.
scope of this video in check, I'll give a quick shout out to the food manga Shoku King for its Donnie's restaurant, featured in a chapter about the family restaurant's relationship to Hamburg steaks. I'm near certain there are more food manga out there, and food anime too, that
yeah, no, you get like relative location, but half the time the relative location is also wrong.
but the market for food manga over here isn't especially large, and they all run like 1 billion chapters, so the sample size readily available versus what there is in the world is kinda small. Again, this video is not comprehensive. Benny's from Durarara is another entry we never see the interior to, but instead of just calling it a Schrodinger's family restaurant and moving on, I'll make an exception here, because I think there are enough environmental details that a narrative emerges.
Toy might have gifted you the Dwarf Fortress that it denied. It denied the gift for Dwarf Fortress because it knew it wasn't ever gonna play it, even though it wanted to, and Toy probably just gifted it to someone else instead of going through the refund process.
See, this is clearly a high foot traffic area in the big city, so I like
Yeah,
to imagine
just
it's a
deny the
good
gift.
safe
Give it back
haven
to
if you're,
Toy.
say, having a girls' night out and someone starts following you or something weird goes on. That being said, it could close down at like 9 p.m. or something and would prove totally useless in that scenario. I'm gonna give it the benefit of the doubt though and say hash browns just for safety. Property values in dense urban environments aren't known for being cheap, so they'd be throwing money away by closing it down early. Benny's from Rascal Does Not
The
Dream of
speculation
Bunny
she
Girl
does is
Senpai,
very
yes, I know
funny
it's not a fucking
sometimes.
isekai, is another restaurant modeled after a real-life Denny's location. The protagonist works at this one, something you don't see very often, and I think the uniforms
Snow.
are cute. Despite something about this Benny's raising the Olive Garden flag
Flat fuck Friday.
in my amygdala, the warm lights and the art
Oh,
on the
it's
walls
neck.
make it seem very inviting. Everyday value slam. Benny's from Strike the Blood is advertising a Benny's Street Fair. Zero
What?
idea what that could possibly entail, but I'm a little dubious. Despite the very inviting rainbows and default Photoshop stars, the fountain drink
It's
machine
a little
is clearly
flat.
labeled 4 night breeds, and I'm gonna guess if I don't know I qualify, I don't. So for my purposes, this one's gonna have to get a junior chocolate chip pancakes. Benny's from To Love Rude Darkness, man, they're always drinking fucking orange juice in these shows. Fish and chips.
Fish and
Scum
chips.
Fish features Bonnie's, or maybe Ban-
She has unintentionally made it think the ones that are rated as fish and chips are slightly higher because it's actually fine with Denny's fish and chips. It's not great, but it's like, you know, fish and chips is usually an okay meal.
Bonnie's, I guess. And
Whereas
I
she thinks it's
really
worse.
want you to take notice of the name because they do like a whole cut in on the logo at the end of the scene there. Bright red cushions and omurice. It's perfect. Quintessential. Grand slam. Kaiji's Donies gets a hash browns. Initial D initially is home to Families, and while in name it doesn't smack especially of Denny's, it's based on the same Denny's location as Toradora's Johnny's. But here's the puzzle. Later in the series, they switch to an entirely different
It forgot how faces look in Initial D. It forgot people look like that in Initial D.
family restaurant. Johnny's. No relation. I'm not sure if it's treated in canon like it's their same old stomping ground or what. I guess it's possible they got kicked out or denied service, or maybe one of them thought he got food poisoning from families and did that thing where the restaurant was just completely ruined for him afterward, even though it was almost certainly a fluke, or like it was his fault in the first place for ordering clams
It
15
does.
minutes before closing, or maybe family
Initial
just
D
closed
mentioned.
down.
Hi.
Personally, I like the
Biting you.
shifting restaurant theory, so that is what I am
You-
buying
you
into.
fell for its
Despite the
trap.
interiors, I'm giving this or these an egg for the mystery.
Egg.
Although I suppose being more familiar with Initial D could solve some of this confusion. Draw your own conclusions. Durless,
Sniff.
courtesy of Nyaruko-san, is named after cosmic horror author and early H.P. Lovecraft publisher August Derleth. Fittingly so, given this whole series seems to be one big Lovecraft meme, and because
What?
it is also a product of a post-economic downturn otaku nightmarescape, it is also an Anna Miller.
What?
Woo.
Huh?
Look, I don't go here, but the interior
What?
is drab and we never see any food. Junior chocolate chip, whatever I'm calling this stupid fucking category. Despite my lack of exposure to the franchise, I am now forever indebted to Hayate, the combat butler, for bestowing upon me the name Death Knees. In the
Death
same
Knees.
episode, we also get a WickDonald's, which that's a video for someone else to make, but you know they were on sicko mode with this. Hence why I forgive Death Knees for its uncommon worthy decor and sloppy looking food. You may think everyday value slam is too high praise, but I'm splitting the difference here between the underwhelming interior and the exterior, which, as documented by some twisted individual, non-pejorative, is very accurate to yet another real-life Denny's location. I suspect we have the anime tourism boom of the last 15 years in particular to thank for these comparison shots. And from the same seed, of course,
it's probably
there's
just
those
someone
that they
who's
compulsion to
autistic.
apply a sense of rigor that is both unjustified.
It's probably just some
and
dude who was like,
unreasonable.
hey, I live by that fucking Denny's, dude. I live by that shit. And just went out and took pictures.
Extremely entertaining.
Doesn't think it has anything to do with anime
for example,
tourism.
the writer of this blog post on Idolmaster Side M's pennies. Sure, from the outside,
Pennies.
it looks accurate, but it all fucking falls apart once you step inside. Look at this. They got the color of the call button wrong.
Fuck
Can't
off,
trust
Asa.
anything anymore. And you know what? I'm with
Explosion.
them. Fuck this place. Bottom tier. Die. And
Fuck you.
ontologically superior Denny's can be found in Tokyo Tribe 2, though the full title is Dinner Penny's Restaurant. This joint rocks.
Dinner
So often,
Penny's
anime
Restaurant.
Denny's are underpopulated, so they don't have to draw or animate crowd shots, which is fine. I totally get it. But this is one of the few that feels like a bustling restaurant. That, combined with the overwhelming warm glow.
Why
and
is
cute
there
waitress,
KK Slider in the
oops,
background?
I'm a big fan. Grand fucking slam. Tragically, the same cannot also be said of
Daddies?
Erica 7's Daddies. Unbelievably good name. This place serves booze, which is pretty cool, but I have to question how they didn't regulate the amount of alcohol Talho was allowed to consume, because she gets beyond trashed. And look at the corny ass suit they're making this poor waiter wear. You got these street teens terrorizing the parking lot. Good to know some things don't even change after 10,000 years. And yet, in the same breath, the whole restaurant gets slammed into with a huge mech. So maybe the future isn't all it's cracked up to be. Gotta go with fish and chips. The name is the only thing saving it
you.
from Emmy. Fret not, though, for all is not lost in the realm of paternally named Denny's offshoots, and we have Psyche K to thank for the even more amazingly titled Dad apostrophe Ease. I gotta say, I am shocked by how much they managed to make the
Daddy.
2016 anime look like circa year 2000's Digipaint. Like, was that intentional? This show looks fucked. Value Slam. Actual year 2000 Digipaint and perennial yaoi glompcore anime Gravitation
Yaoi
features what might be the
glompcore.
worst looking family restaurant food of the whole bunch. Like, this literally looks like fucking poop spaghetti. And look,
Shut
does it even
up.
matter what I fucking rate this? You may have noticed, based on the sample size I present to you here, Denny's variations appear pretty
doesn't think
frequently in
poop
anime
jokes are
about
funny.
music. And while I doubt there's
It
a
hates
strong
them
association between
with a
diners
fucking,
and
like,
dumb DIY kids
strong
in Japan,
passion.
there sure is in America. The specific restaurant seems to be regional, like for some it's Waffle House, but for me, Denny's is permanently associated in my brain with the bands I was in my early 20s. Be it getting late night desperation food after playing a show, or just ordering a coffee and talking shop with my bandmate about our songs after closing up at the rehearsal studio I worked at and recorded in during off hours. I've got
That was such a
lot of
long
fond
sentence.
music-related memories cushioned
damn.
within many a Denny's. I actually once ate at the hardcore show What the
I forgot about this video.
Fuck Is Up Denny's just a few months before that event happened. It is
It
perhaps
forgot
for this
about
reason,
this.
combined with manga author Hamaji Aki's status as Tom Clancy for
I forgot about the hardcore show at Denny's. Goes so hard.
Brats, that Bochi the Rock's Denethans still counts
Yo,
in my heart, despite it
have
looking
Denny's
like,
in
being
Bochi?
named like, and being based on a real-life Jonathan's location. Let me have this. I may have my stupid
They
petty
don't.
issues with this show. I'll
Okay.
probably talk about elsewhere eventually, but it is unassailable fact that in spite of my general disinterest in seeing myself reflected in art, you know, my work is personality driven. I see more than enough of myself every day. I felt a kind of indescribable, transcendent euphoria watching anime girls mob over to a diner after playing a gig that had maybe only been topped elsewhere by an earlier episode of the very same show. In the grand scheme, it doesn't even matter, but putting aside the interior being bland in the same way so many modern anime backgrounds are,
What? Why does she dislike
by
bakshi?
family restaurant standards? Thick cut fries, Hamburg steak, I don't know, butter chicken, some kind of curry.
That's not butter
really
chicken.
Sure. Spaghetti. My paisan's heart whispers that that's basil on top, but something uglier inside me tells me it's probably parsley, but still, it all looks good. I'm sure Bochi appreciated the tablet menus, and I gotta give props to the USB outlets stationed at each booth. 5 stars.
Those weren't
grand
USBs.
slam. This is the anime Denny's I like the most.
Those
Without
aren't
arguments,
USBs.
and the first 3 letters of
That's an
Denny's are
American
enough to convince
outlet.
you that it counts. I've got another.
Without the ground plug.
So, instead of
Darla.
actually ranking all of these,
What the
because,
fuck?
let's be honest,
Darla.
who actually cares where Danny's number 8 ranks against Benny's number 12? I'll lay out my favorite, least favorite, and the one I think is the most middle of the road, and you can fill in the rest however you please. And the awards go
It
to
saw that, yeah.
Tokyo Tribe 12 pennies for favorite, with maybe the Beck Danny's right behind it. School Days' Dunnies is the midliest. And because I think it's very funny to single it out, Side M Pennies is the worst of the worst. One more final, this is not a definitive or comprehensive list. For example, I've heard there might
She's so
be
mad
one
at the
way to
food
dive
for
the
being
TV,
bland.
but
It's
I
not
didn't
that
want
bad.
to skim through all of it because it's a show I'd like to watch myself someday. Furthermore, as a bit of insight into my process for this video, I was racking my brain trying to think of more I'd seen, even just examples of scenes taking place at family restaurants in general. There was one I thought was surefire. There's that early
Yu-Gi-Oh?
episode of the original season of Yu-Gi-Oh where the boys think Anzu is doing Enjo Kosai and they find out that she just got a part-time job. I thought maybe it was a family restaurant, but nah, it's MF Burger World. Stupid me.
Burger
As
World.
it turns out, there's a lot of anime in the world, more than any one person could reasonably see in a lifetime, so the
The
true
food wasn't
totality
even
of
bland though.
anime
It disagrees
existence
with
may
her
never be
her
known.
rating of
And I
that
think
one.
that's just fine. But there's still one more point of intersection between Denny's and anime that needs discussion. Official collaborations. While nothing could possibly compare to either the official Lawson Vocaloid nor the official Panya Lawson fit, check it out, it's even got a little
What
name
is
tag.
Lawson?
Japanese Denny's has had some pretty good collaborations in its
What
day.
is
You might have
Lawson?
expected stuff like Hello Kitty and Pokemon, but here are a few that I think are interesting and
Pokemon Denny.
First up, here's the
Kidsman.
K-On! Collaboration, which started on July 20th, 2010.
K-On!
If
collaboration
I
makes
understand
sense.
correctly, the idea is that they picked a dessert for each of the 5 main girls, including 2 new menu items, a peach milfai pie, and a fresh peach and milk pudding soup. Cold soup, I'm guessing, since this was, released in the dead middle of summer. The following year saw a collaboration with Bakuman, the jump manga about making jump manga, running from April 26th to May 23rd, 2011. A special clear file was available, riveting, but in this case, Bakuman characters would crop up around these stores
Yeah,
and in the menu.
The fucking K-On! Girl destroying a hamburger. That's at Denny's now. That's canon. That's at Denny's now.
Which I think makes it more in-depth than the K-On! One, which just had a poster up in the restaurants, I think. Which is funny, because I read a good chunk of Bakuman as a teen, and I don't recall family restaurants playing much of a part in them. Meanwhile, with K-On!, it's like, what is a cute girls doing cute things anime without ample time spent discussing or consuming
Yeah,
sweets?
her.
Last
She
one for
fucking
the night,
destroys a
and
hamburger.
Most mutually relevant, we've got the Kofuku Graffiti collab, which debuted January 5th, 2015, alongside Denny's
That's kinda
highly
funny, Jen.
anticipated All-You-Can-Eat Pancakes Volume 3. Those who
Pancake.
applied were eligible to win one of however many Nanako gift cards featuring a
It has
unique
no idea how it would search for her destroying a hamburger. So the best you're gonna get is Burger. The best you're getting is this. It's a Discord emote it has.
illustration from the cooking manga's author. Very cool. Just kidding. There was also a small collaboration from 2017 with March Rolled In Like a Lion, or whatever the localized title for
What?
this series is. Someone fucked up big time though, because this collaboration took place in April. Like, come on, you were only a month off.
What?
Look, conclusions are a formality. I'm not writing a high school essay, and I doubt you want to feel like you're grading one. I made this video because I thought Dunny's was a funny thing to call a restaurant in a cartoon. If you're so inclined, you can fill in the blanks here with whatever analytical framework gets you going to round this out. Splash around in the pool all you want. Just don't get too pruny or it's gonna hurt to walk back to the car when it's time to go home.
What? What kind of fucking expression is that? Huh? That expression did like a slight psychic damage. Yeah, that was kind of just out of nowhere. Also, hi. It doesn't know what a sand point is. Yeah, yeah. She normally does, like Bloodborne or whatever the fuck. Can't remember what game it's thinking. It's not Bloodborne, it's something else. There's a specific game it knows that has sanity points abbreviated that way. It's unsure which specifically, though. Never played Call of Cthulhu. No. Deadly Premonition? That might be it, but it's never actually played it, so it hasn't seen that much of it. Feels like that's probably about right. But, well, most games don't have sanity points. Hi, Jelly! Microwave Zoomies. Microwave Zoomies 1 million. I thought that was pasta for a bit. It looked like cheesy pasta and it was a bit confused. He doesn't even describe the taste. He just said it's like garlicky. This looks like it could be really good. It depends, though. Not great impressions already. Hi, Val. It hates things that you have to flip. Stirring things is okay, but having to flip a microwave item is evil. And even then, it doesn't like stirring things too much, but it's like acceptable. This looks like it could be good. The like wrap might be a bit like too spongy, but it thinks that fits for the potatoes. Steamed chickpea cake. It's never heard of this, but it feels like this probably won't microwave well. What? Do you not like potatoes? Throwing a potato at Jelly like a rock. Most frozen meals need you to like pierce the lid. This actually surprisingly microwaved like really well. Like all potatoes? I think we've talked about this before. Is there a form of potatoes you like? I can't remember. My bottoms are slightly wet. Like crispy fried or like just regular fried? Okay, so like regular french fries are fine. Cool. Regular french fries aren't like crispy though. I guess as they're kind of crisp, it's thinking like crunchy though. Do you like them crunchy or like just crisp? Yeah, okay. If you only like them crunchy, it wouldn't have understood. Right. It likes that plate. That plate is cute. Have you eaten chicken tikka masala? Yeah, probably. It assumes you mean this specific version. So, him eating with his hands is not that bad. Because, like, this is like an actual practice some people do. But there's very specific hand cleaning and, like, other procedures that you do with it. And it kind of doubts he's doing that. Who knows, though? Yeah, it's a very specific thing. Yeah, no, his hands are just dirty as hell when he's going for, like, the spoon and stuff. So he's just eating with his hands in general, not actually, like, doing the practice of it. Yeah. It's making tikka masala for dinner tonight. Looks like a YouTube play button. It guesses. It wishes frozen meals were better. There are a few that are good, but it used to live like exclusively off of frozen meals because disability. And it ended up just getting fucking sick of everything because it was so low quality. Nowadays it has a few that are still good, but now that it's on stimulants, it just cooks more often than not. Because frozen meals are exceedingly mid. And at some points just make it feel sick if it has them too many times, if it's the kind of lower quality ones. This is way too crispy. Cooking can be fun, but it doesn't really think cooking specifically is fun. Baking is fun, because baking is easy as hell. Cooking is annoying. Cooking is too much energy. See, baking, you just mix a bunch of stuff. And then you put it in the oven. Cooking, you have to, like, actively participate in. And, like, it takes... The time you're actively participating in takes a really long time. Baking makes a bit of a mess, depending. You can reduce the mess. But, like... It's like a lot easier to clean up and, like, do all this stuff with baking than it is to cook, it feels. It also has no problem with dishes. It just dislikes cooking because you're actively doing stuff most of the time. Where baking, you are preparing something and it doesn't take too long to do that. the time you're actively doing stuff. And then you just, you bake and clean up. Whatever this is, it looks pretty good. Unsure about... Jeez. Unsure about the flavors, but... Oh yeah,
Back in my
Max
day,
Miller.
the cool thing to eat at school lunch was a Lunchable. But in 1934, it was peanut butter and tomato soup, a butter sandwich, a hermit cookie, and an apple and milk.
That doesn't sound that bad. That's the kind of shit they'd give you today.
So using an old menu from 1934, I'm going to put together...
It had free school lunch, and it would get less food than that. His ass cannot guard the barley. His ass cannot guard the barley. This requires you to have seen a very specific tasting history video. It'll put it on.
Nikasi says that you should have a dog to guard the barley, even from potentates. Alas, I have no dog, and Jamie did not seem interested in helping, so I took my chances. But luckily, no potentates came to steal my barley.
His ass cannot guard the barley. How the fuck do you open... Inspect... Oh, not what I want to do. How the fuck do you inspect Element in Discord again? It's trying to open a sticker, because you can't just copy the links to those for some goddamn reason. It has it enabled, it just doesn't remember what the fuck the buttons are. It wants to show you a sticker from Discord. It just doesn't remember how to. Yeah, it's like something something F12. Okay. There we go.
An entire meal for a...
Also, it totally didn't show you the video on accident. That's okay. It'll show you it now. There you go.
says that you should have a dog to guard the barley, even from potentates.
I accidentally only
Alas,
played
I have
it.
no dog, and Jamie did not...
Look at this fucking cat. Look at this cat. Look at this cat. Why is his face like that?
...interested in helping, so I
He
took
looks
my
like a
chances. But
fish. That cat is like the most fish-like cat has ever seen. Also, inspect element Discord. What's the... Control-Shift-I. Okay. You have to, like, enable dev mode to actually get this. It's a whole pain in the ass. His ass cannot guard the barley. His ass cannot guard the barley. His ass cannot guard the barley. The way it's saying this reminds it of a YouTube video that it doesn't know if it can find. No, it can't find it because YouTube's algorithm sucks so bad. Wrong one. Let's go to barley. Yes, here it is.
Okay, we need to go to California.
It loves this video so much. The way it was saying his ass cannot guard the barley was making it remember this video.
We need to go to California.
Okay, we need to go to California. His ass cannot guard the barley.
School lunch today, but really there are only two things I have to make, and that's the peanut butter and tomato soup and the hermit cookie. Now the menu, along with the recipes, come from the cookbook School Lunches with Recipes to Serve 50 Children. That title, To Serve 50 Children, kind of reminds me of that Twilight Zone episode.
To serve men, it's a cookbook.
But
God,
I assure you there
I
are no
remember that
children used
episode.
as ingredients in either of these
Fuck
recipes.
yeah. Let's
Rather,
go to
they are
California.
recipes for
Ocean.
a lot of food to feed a lot of little kids. And I don't have any little kids around here, so I'm going to be cutting down the recipes. I'm going to make half of the cookies and just a quarter of the soup, and that's still enough soup to fill the biggest pot that I own. And so to make that soup, what you'll need is one number 10 can of tomatoes. This is a number 10 can of tomatoes.
God damn.
It's huge. It is 6 pounds, 6 ounces, or about 2.9 kilograms. The original recipe calls for 4 of these, so one is enough. 2/3 of a cup, or 75 grams of flour, 1 1/3 cup, or 340 grams of smooth peanut butter. Crunchy peanut butter, which I prefer, had come
Ew.
from the market just a couple years previous, but I'm guessing they used smooth peanut butter especially because it is a soup. Also, try to get it with no sugar added, because they would have
It
added a ton of
dislikes
sugar at
peanut
the time.
butter
A
a
half
lot
cup or
usually.
55 grams of chopped onions, and 1.5 teaspoons of salt. Then the recipe says to press canned tomatoes through a sieve to remove the seeds.
Damn,
So I
son.
tried this, and yeah, it didn't work, at least not for me. I'd say that my sieve was too fine, but any less fine and the seeds would have gone through, so that doesn't make any sense. And maybe they pureed it beforehand, so that's what I ended up doing. You know, you just kind of got to make it work, I guess. But once you get smooth tomatoes, mix a cup of it with the flour and the peanut butter until it is as smooth as you can get.
Ugh.
Then add
What
the
the
onions
fuck?
and the remaining tomato into a large pot and heat it until it starts to boil. Take a bit of that hot tomato and add it to the peanut mixture, stirring it
the
all
fuck?
together, and then add all of that into the pot with the rest of the tomato. Stir in the salt, and then it says cook for about 10 minutes, stirring
What the
constantly.
fuck?
Now once the soup is done, we can start making our cookies. The cookbook gives options for 3 different cookies: oatmeal raisin, molasses, and hermits, which I had never heard of. I guess they're actually still eaten in New England, but I had never heard of them, and everyone who does know of them says that they're pretty good, so I figured I'd give them a shot. So for that, you'll need a bowl to sift in 180 grams of flour with a 1/4 cup or 35 grams of dried skim milk, a half
Ew,
teaspoon of
skim
cinnamon,
milk.
a
Gross.
half teaspoon of baking soda, and a 1/4 teaspoon of salt. Then whisk everything together and add a half cup or 240 grams of chopped raisins and toss them into the flour mixture, coating them well. A lot of recipes for these call for currants, which are a little bit smaller, and it kind of makes sense because chopping raisins is rather tedious. Then cream together a half cup or 113 grams of butter with 3/4 of a cup or 160 grams of light brown sugar. Then add 2 beaten eggs and mix until smooth. Then add the flour mixture and gently mix until just combined. Then scoop the dough out onto baking sheets.
Stretchy.
And since we know that this will make 25 cookies, we'll know exactly how big the cookies would have been in 1934, and spoiler alert, they're a lot smaller than most modern cookies. But even so, bake them at 375 degrees Fahrenheit or 190 Celsius for 8 to 10 minutes or until they start to brown on top. And while
No,
they bake,
too
make sure you're
crunchy.
subscribed to Tasting History, which, if you think about it, is a little bit
It
like
fucking
school lunch
hates
because,
crunchy
1,
cookies.
you learn how to make food, and 2, you get
If a cookie
lessons like this
crunches,
one.
it would literally rather throw it away most of the time.
So when that first school lunch happened is
It has
kind of hard
unironically
to
thrown
pin
away like cookies because they got too hard and it didn't want them anymore.
down. I mean, I'm sure somebody snuck some hummus and pita into one of Socrates' lectures. But when it comes to more of an organized
even good
school
with
lunch, we
milk.
have to look
Softer
quite a
cookies
bit
are better
later.
with milk.
Generally, it's accepted that it took place in Munich, Germany in 1790.
And they're only good with milk if you let them soak until they get like mushy.
The American-born Benjamin Thompson, better known as
Okay, the thing is though, like an Oreo, that doesn't count. But if you cook your chocolate chip cookies till they're hard, no, bad, very bad.
Count Rumford, organized meals to be served to poor children before they took lessons. Though the children only spent half of the day in classes, they spent the other half making uniforms for the military, just like when I was in kindergarten. In France, school
Epic.
lunches started as gifts from private donors such as the author Victor Hugo, who sponsored an entire school. But in 1867, the Minister of Public Instruction, Victor Duruy, established the first
Pretty much.
widespread lunch program at over 460 schools. And a decade later, school canteens
Oatmeal butterscotch. It really likes oatmeal chocolate chip. Oatmeal chocolate chip fucks hard. And oatmeal raisin are pretty good, but it's never had oatmeal butterscotch. You know what it loves so much? It loves when cookies are they're like half regular batter and half oatmeal batter. So you get like a really, really, really good oatmeal cookie pretty much. That's like really moist because the oatmeal like locks in more moisture. And so does the regular cookie dough. It's so fucking good.
opened up all over Paris.
Basically, any cookie dough that has you add like oatmeal to it on top of a regular batter is really good.
And these were publicly funded programs that would give hot meals to all of the students. Those who could pay would, and those who couldn't got them for free. And even in the 1870s,
That's how
the
modern
people
school
setting
is.
this up knew that kids were bullies and would pick on those kids who got free lunches, and so they made a sort of ticket system so that everyone was anonymous. It's pretty cool. Similar
is cool.
programs came about in what's now
It got
Switzerland.
free school lunch. It would always have to get like, it was so fucking hungry, and like it still has a really fast metabolism, so it still eats kind of similarly. Whenever it got a school lunch, it would have to get one of them free, and then it had to its parents would give it money in its account so it could get other stuff, and so it would get a free meal and then also get a second meal which it had to pay for, because otherwise it would be like way too hungry constantly. So it had like double lunches because one of them was
Switzerland,
free.
Holland, and Germany, though in Germany, when a bill was introduced in the Reichstag in 1897 to provide school lunches in all cities, it was defeated because it was thought that free lunch would entice people to move into the already crowded cities. For a nationwide program, we must look to England, where the Parliament passed the Provision of Meals Act, which aims at securing that for this purpose, suitable meals shall be available just as much for those whose parents are in a position to pay as for those to whom food must be given free of cost. And the meals tended to be quite nice, always including some sort of dessert, like a gypsy tart, a Manchester tart, a treacle pudding, or spotted dick. And I'm assuming that the school children of England found the name just as funny as I did. Spotted dick. Now here in the good old US of A,
Yeah.
it took us a little bit longer to get to a widespread
It has always been the thing that eats people's leftovers and pizza crust because it's still hungry.
lunch program, but there were local programs, like in 1853 when the Children's Aid Society of New York opened a vocational school for children living in poverty, and their attendance came with a meal. There were also penny lunches served in a handful of high schools in Philadelphia and Boston, and later in New York City there were 3 penny lunches because the cost of living in New York City is outrageous. But these programs didn't seem to take off. Most kids got their lunch by either going home at lunch and getting a meal there, or bringing
It's gonna
their
have to
lunch.
pack a lunch for the first time in like half a decade or some shit soon, because it's going to like some range classes next week, and just it's gonna be from like 10 a.m. to like later than that, so it's gonna have to pack itself a lunch,
Like I
which
did
is
when I
is
was
new.
a kid. But the problem with that is that it leaves a lot of people out, i.e.
It doesn't want to do this. This means it has to buy things that it can pack lunches with. It's so complicated. It's gonna have to buy sandwich things probably. It's fucked up. It's fucked up.
all of the parents that aren't at home at lunch, or the parents who can't really afford to give their kid a meal to take to school. Then in 1904, Robert Hunter published a book called Poverty, which among other things pointed out that there must be thousands, very likely 60 or 70,000 children in New York City alone who often arrive at school hungry and unfitted to do well the work required. He asked what's the point of truancy laws, which had become pretty standard, making the kids go to school if they are too hungry to actually learn while they're there. Also, I do think it's kind of funny that Robert Hunter, who spent his entire life concerned with poverty in America, ended up living in Montecito, California, which now is maybe the least impoverished place in the whole country. I mean, that's like the home of Prince Harry and Oprah. But it was because of that book and others from the time that there was a newfound effort to feed America's children. By 1912, over 40 cities had lunch programs, often making lunches in central kitchens, then delivering them to schools around the cities. But for those living in rural areas, a lot of the cooking was left up to the teacher. Entered the 1916 book The Rural School Lunch by Nellie Wing Farnsworth. She was of the opinion that the rural children actually had even a greater need for a hearty lunch than their city-dwelling counterparts, because the main meal on the farm was the midday meal, and while they were in school, they weren't at the farm to actually get it. Also, she says that they would have been extra hungry because many had to walk upwards of 6 miles uphill both ways in the snow. And she basically actually says that, and that's always what my grandpa used to say.
Yeah.
That's kind of funny.
Also,
winter, it might be so
everyone's
cold that
heard
should a
that.
child bring their lunch carried in a basket or pail, it is often frozen. When the pail or basket is opened, it is found to contain cold pancakes, salt pork, cold potatoes, pie, and bottles of cold tea or coffee. Yes, coffee. It was
that
not
sounds kind of like a
uncommon
good lunch.
to give children coffee at the time, and I'm going to guess that a room full of over-caffeinated 8-year-olds really makes a teacher's job all that much harder. So
How much
it was
caffeine
determined
would
that
like
children
coffee
should
back
neither
then
drink
actually
tea
have?
nor coffee, but milk, water, or cocoa. Even cocoa should not be served every day, as it provides a stimulant to many children. But since the kids were arriving at school with frozen food, it was actually up to the teacher to prepare a hot meal. This meant that they had to stock their classroom with, among other things, a 2-burner blue flame oil stove, a portable oven, a frying pan, kettles, egg beaters, and a 2-quart double boiler. Now that is a lot on a teacher's salary, but Miss Farnsworth had a solution. One rural school teacher had a shower, like a baby shower, but for school lunch. She basically went to the stores in town and made up a list of all the things that she needed. She then sent invitations to all the mothers and women interested in the school, inviting them for a social afternoon and asking that each one bring with her one or more of the utensils which had been selected. And I would like to say that this is a relic of the past and how ridiculous, but since I come from a family of teachers, I know that it's not. Granted, it's not lunch and cooking items,
how old is
but
his
it is
stove?
still like
It only ever
crayons
just
and
noticed that
other things for the classroom that the teachers have to gather money to pay for.
Oven, that's what it's called. Good night.
This book on rural
Sleep
school
well.
lunches really
Thank you for being here.
encourages that
Oh,
the kids
Barkies.
eat together at a table rather than kind of
Those
going all
Barkies are a little
over and
fucked up
eating,
today.
you know, outside or whatever. This would encourage, among other things, better table manners. It would help their conversation skills, and my favorite reason, mothers will take more pains in putting
forgot
up
he
the
got a
lunch
new
when they know
kitchen.
that it is to be exhibited before the other pupils as well as the teacher. That is a mild public shaming to get.
It's really funny that Max Miller is like a Disney gay. It's really funny. His fucking husband worked at Disney. And he worked on like Marvel specifically too, I think.
Get mothers to send better quality lunches with their children. And so this was the status quo in the 1910s
That kind of
and
makes sense.
20s.
Global
But then
economy.
came the Great Depression.
He stopped working there at some point. But it wasn't Max, no, it was his husband. Max Miller is Disney's
More
first
children
gay
than ever
character.
were going hungry because their parents were all out of work, and so the parents couldn't afford the food that America's farmers were producing. So many problems, but one very elegant solution was school lunch. The New Deal allowed the federal government to buy up excess food from the country's farmers. Then they sent that food to school for children to eat, but instead of making
May bit it on the thigh like 2 weeks ago now. Was it 2 weeks? It might have just been a week. I think it was just a week. May bit it on the thigh a week ago and it's still fucking bruised. It's like a fucked up bruise. It was like right on the muscle.
The parents or teachers prepare the meal. They put those who were out of work into the kitchens, and thus was born the lunch lady.
It counts as a vegetable.
Now, one side effect of this program was that much of the food that the children began to eat was meat heavy, a lot more pork and beef, because it was those expensive ingredients that were in surplus.
That would rule.
Our peanut butter and tomato soup was replaced
That would
with
fucking
Salisbury
rule.
steak.
Salisbury steak.
The American
Shut the
children
fuck
were
up,
eating
Max
high on
Miller.
the hog.
Get fucking South Park off of its screen. Fuck you. Explode
And
this
then
man.
World War II happened. Surpluses turned into shortages, and schools were subject to the same rationing as everybody else. And the school lunch cookbooks from this period
It imagines
seem to
you
include
do.
a lot of canned foods. It also saw just the actual number of school lunches really dwindle, and the effects of this were quickly evident. And so once the war was over in 1946, Congress passed the National School Lunch Act, since, as President Harry S. Truman said, "No nation is any healthier than its children or more prosperous than its farmers." So with decent budgets available for school lunches and school lunch infrastructure, the 1950s and 60s saw the cafeteria become the standard model for handing out school lunches to students.
got bit,
It's
didn't
also
you?
when classic school lunch foods like pizza, fish sticks, and
It
mashed
didn't
potatoes
bite you.
served via ice cream scoop became popular fare.
Of course, no Bruce. It didn't.
Of course, with public funds came a lot of lobbying on how to spend those funds, and so how students ate was largely determined by what companies had the most influence in Washington. And so the 1970s saw chips and candy bars and vending machines make their way into the cafetoriums of America. Nutritional guidelines started to dip, and by the 1980s, they fell off a cliff. And this is the area that gives rise to the idea that America once considered ketchup a vegetable, which isn't actually true. It turns out that it was probably just something that somebody said in a meeting, maybe in jest, maybe not, but never actually became public policy. But even so, school lunch became increasingly privatized. And
It's a
the
bit of an
portions
insult,
shrank,
isn't it?
Yet the calories grew,
Being a Disney
mostly
character?
due to just more added sugar. And that's why my mom always made me take my lunch to school, which was okay as long as I had a really cool lunchbox. But then Lunchables got really popular, and that was the cool thing to bring, and they didn't fit in my really cool lunchbox. So on those few occasions when I could convince my mom to spend money and buy me Lunchables, I had to decide between the Lunchables and the cool lunchbox, and usually I went with the Lunchables in a brown paper bag. These were the things that made me lose sleep when I was 8. But in recent years, it seems that the quality of the food in school lunches has actually started to go back up, and there has been a concerted effort to make them more nutritional. But I think that we're still quite a bit behind most other countries, especially France, who has like full-on meals for the kids with beef bourguignon and brie on freshly baked baguette.
The only time we ever had something that was close enough to real meals in school was specifically elementary school. For Thanksgiving, they would have like school food versions of Thanksgiving. And it was actually surprisingly good, but it was also very low quality school food.
And they do it at a lower cost than we do. It's crazy. I don't know how they do it. But, you know, I don't have any beef bourguignon today, nor fresh baguette, but I do have some peanut butter and tomato soup and hermit cookies about ready to eat. So once your cookies are cooled, slap together a butter sandwich with Wonder Bread.
I forgot about the sniff emote. I forgot about the sniff emote it enabled. Also, Hallies.
You're all set. And here we are, school lunch from the Great Depression. So I gotta say, the texture of this doesn't look particularly appetizing.
This soup.
It's kind of gloopy, but it smells good, so let's give it a try.
This soup. This soup.
Oh, those poor children. Honestly, it's not even that it tastes bad, because it doesn't taste bad, but it doesn't taste good. I love tomato soup. I love peanut butter. Turns out those two flavors do not go well. They don't make a new flavor. It's more like tomato soup and peanut butter fighting against each other, and nobody wins. Hopefully the hermit cookie will be a little bit better. These smell really, really good. Let's give it a try.
He baked it way too hard.
Mm-hmm.
It looked dry as
You
hell.
can kind of tell from a cookie how it smells.
If you can get a bite like that, clean
That's
out
really,
of
really good.
a cookie that tall, it's like
It
dry as
reminds
hell.
me of like the flavor of a fruit cake almost, but obviously not the texture. It's like a much softer, chewy texture. I've seen recipes where they kind of spread out more. It's probably just a different quantities of butter and everything in there, but this is more of a chewy cookie, which I really like. Delicious. A- to these. If they had chocolate in it, it would have been an A+. So make sure to follow me on Instagram, Tasting History with Max Miller, and I will see you next time on Tasting History. I'm going to finish this right now.
Okay.
If you've ever visited Hawaii...
This is possible. He didn't even make a butter sandwich. Go hell. Go hell. Go hell. Go hell forever. Fuck you, Max Miller. You deserve your cat not guarding the barley. He did make it? Well, he didn't fucking eat it. Explode him.
There's an old Christmas song that goes, "Here we come a-wassailing among the..."
Probably one or two more videos because it feels very tired
so
suddenly.
green, but
It wants to stream much longer, but it
I
probably
ask
shouldn't.
you, what the heck is wassailing? Well, let me explain over a nice hot steaming cup of wassail. So thank you to my Patreon patrons for supporting this channel for yet another year. To you, I raise...
I clicked this video because it says it's Tudor, and it really, really likes that kind of stuff, specifically in the medieval stuff. 1300s. They're very interesting.
a cup of wassail once I've made it.
Wassels
This time
you.
on Drinking
Wassels you. Fucking wassels you. Get fucking wassel.
So the thing with the word wassail is that it has a multitude of meanings. It can be a salutation, a type of song, a toast, a party, or even a drunken fight. Though it's what those who are wassailing are drunk on that concerns me today. As Samuel Johnson described it, it's a liquor made of apples, sugar, and ale, anciently much used by English goodfellows. Hear, hear. But even then, that definition is rather narrow, because wassail, the drink, could be made from wine or cider or ale, sometimes brandy. It really changes throughout the centuries. But one of the most popular types of wassail, and I think the one that Samuel Johnson is trying to describe in his dictionary, was called lambswool, a drink that answers the question, what if this applesauce could make me drunk? Lambswool is merely a variety of the wassail bowl. Formerly, the first day of November was dedicated to the angel presiding over fruits, seeds, etc. And was therefore named Lamasul, that is, the day of the apple fruit. And being pronounced Lamasul, our country people have corrupted it to lambswool. Recipe. Mix the pulp of half a dozen roasted apples with some raw sugar, a grated nutmeg, and a small quantity of ginger. Add 1 quart of strong ale made moderately warm. Stir the whole well together, and if sweet enough, it is fit for use. This mixture is sometimes served up in a bowl with sweet cakes floating in it. So to make this, you'll need 6 apples, and the ones that they would have probably used for most of history are crab apples. As Shakespeare's Love's Labour's Lost described the drink, when roasted crabs hiss in the bowl. But most of us don't have access to crab apples these days, so any tart apples will do. 1 quart or 1 liter of ale, a half cup or 105 grams of brown sugar, or more or less, it's really up to you. It is supposed to be rather sweet though. 2 teaspoons or 1 whole nutmeg, 2 teaspoons of fresh ginger. You can also use about 1.5 teaspoons of dried ginger. So first, core the apples and set them on a lined baking sheet and bake them at 350 degrees Fahrenheit or 175
Ginger
Celsius
is
for
fine,
45
it just sounds
minutes.
like it'd be weird
When they're
in there.
done, you should be easily able to remove the skins and then mash them up as fine as you can. Then add in the brown sugar, nutmeg, and ginger, and mix it all together as well as possible. And there you basically have applesauce. Then you're going to heat the ale up over a low heat in a pot just until it is steaming. You don't want it to boil. And once it's steaming, add the applesauce and mix it until it's combined, and then let it steep, again, not boiling, for about 5 minutes. Now, as I said, this is just one of many versions of lamb's wool or wassail in general. And sometimes instead of using apples, they'll mix it up with eggs or ground almonds. There are just so many versions of this drink. But the version that we are making today does seem pretty standard. In fact, there is a poem from the 17th century by Robert Herrick where he describes essentially this. A health to the king and queen here. Next crown the bowl full with gentle lamb's wool, add sugar, nutmeg, and ginger, with store of ale too, and thus ye must do to make the wassail a swinger. So here's hoping our wassail is indeed a swinger, though I think first I should
He
delve
does the
into some of those
transatlantic
other
accent
definitions
so well.
of wassail. So first thing to figure out is where the word wassail even came from. Some believe that it started with the Old Norse vesheil, which then went into Anglo-Saxon washeil, roughly meaning be in good health. And how the phrase was used is not entirely clear, though it is mentioned in one of my favorite poems, Beowulf, which was written in the centuries leading up to the year 1000. And there it's used as a sort of salute. Again as erst begin in hall, warriors wassail and words of power. This is likely the oldest use of the phrase that was written down, though it may have been used much earlier if the rather dodgy history of medieval historians is to be believed, which it usually shouldn't. But for argument's sake, in Geoffrey of Monmouth's 12th century bestseller, The History of the Kings of Britain, he described a banquet where Vortigern, the 5th century king of the Britons, entertained the Saxon mercenary Hengist. Hengist's daughter, Rowena, greets Vortigern with a bow and offers him a goblet of spiced wine and says, Res heil, or be in good health, to which the king replies, Drink heil, or drink and good health. And from that day to this, the tradition has endured in Britain that the one who drinks first at a banquet says Wes heil to his partner, and he who drinks next says Drink heil. Vortigern and Rowena end up falling in love, getting married, and the rest is history. At least in Geoffrey of Monmouth's history, which
that kind of rules. It likes wassail and drink hair, much more than cheers. It thinks we should do this normally. Wassail, drink hair.
Mostly myth, but that's beside the point.
Especially because it's call and response as opposed to just call.
Now, while he was writing about events that took place centuries before that likely never actually happened, another Anglo-Norman writer, a poet, did mention wassail being used as a toast by the Saxons on the eve of the Battle of Hastings in 1066. Rejoice and wassail, pass the bottle and drink healthy, drink backwards and drink to me, drink half and drink empty.
That goes kind of hard. This Anglo-Norman poet went fucking hard.
And maybe if they hadn't drunk so much, the next day would have gone better for them, but doubtful. Now, as I said, they used that phrase, vesheil, as kind of a toast. And that phrase, to toast, actually may have its roots in wassail. Even in the recipe that we're using today, it mentions that little cakes can be served in it. Not
it's okay with
it,
this.
But actually in it. And this comes from an earlier tradition of putting manchet, or fine white bread, inside of the
Jenny,
drink. Tradition has it
fuck.
that once the drink was all gone,
It's
the
words.
highest ranking person there, or whoever was being honored, would be given this piece
It
of
immediately
toast
forgot
that
how
was
the fuck to
sodden with
make a
alcohol
sentence.
to eat, kind of like the fruit at the end of sangria, but more soggy. And the practice, which, while not very common today, I think, is mentioned in several famous songs about wassailing. Wassail, wassail, all over the town, our toast it is white, and our ale it is brown. Our bowl it is made of the white maple tree, with the wassailing bowl we'll drink unto thee. Our wassail is made of the good ale and cake, some nutmeg and ginger, the best we could bake. And songs like this are still sung all around Britain.
For some reason, it's a heavyweight. anytime it drinks, it takes so much to get it even lightly tipsy. And then it lasts for like 10 to 20 minutes and it's gone completely. And then if it drinks after that, it doesn't do anything. It's fucked up.
Wassailing. And this is where the word wassail goes from just being a noun, either a salute or a drink to someone's health, or the drink itself, to a verb. Sometimes today it's synonymous with caroling, going door to door, singing Christmas songs. But that is definitely the more tame version that became popular during the Victorian age, for the practice started out with more pagan roots. It was an old practice of farmers, not only in Britain, but all over Europe, where during the winter months, they would go out to their orchards and pour cider and other alcohols onto the roots of their fruit trees in the hope that it would help them produce more fruit in the next harvest season. Wassail the trees that they may bear you many a plum and many a pear, for more or less fruits they will bring as you do give them wassailing. The practice also often included the singing of songs to ostensibly frighten away any evil spirits that were living amongst the trees. And eventually, it started taking place mostly on the 12th night of Christmas. And they would ask the baby Jesus to also bless the trees, and that is how wassailing and Christmas got all tangled up together. And
baby
then at some
Jesus
point, during the Middle
blessings.
Ages, the practice of wassailing expanded. Perhaps it was because the farmers were drunk after wassailing all of their orchard trees and would come into the towns and, it just kind of...
It dislikes that he showed those specific etchings when he's talking about the Middle Ages. That shit was like, he was showing etchings from like the fucking 1800s. You're like 500 years off.
Spill over. But I think it was because all of the people who didn't have any orchards to wassail just wanted to get in on the public drinking and singing. And so wassailing became a tradition of going about the town from door to door, singing and hoping that the lord of the manor would spread some of that good old Christmas cheer. We are not daily beggars that beg from door to door, but we are friendly neighbors, whom you have seen before. And we're here for your alcohol. But it wasn't just the rabble outside. The people, the lords and ladies inside of the manors, they also wanted to get in on the action.
This
in the
sounds
1494 Household
cool.
Ordinances
This
of
rule.
King Henry VII, no less, it describes, on 12th day at night, the king and queen ought to take it in the hall. And as for the wassail, the...
There's a guy riding a fucking crocodile in this etching, but it's actually a guy in a crocodile suit. You can see the head. Huh?
Steward and the treasurer shall come forward with their staves in their hands. When the steward cometh into the hall door with the wassail, he must cry 3 times, Wassail, 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 and then the chapel to answer with a good song. A century later in Elizabethan England, many people stopped depending on the Lord to give them their wassail, and instead they would just make their own and cart it about town in big bowls, drinking and singing and carousing and generally getting out of control, and it would often lead to drunken fights, and that actually ended up becoming another definition of the word. And those engaged in this practice definitely got a bit of a reputation. I should be loath to meet the rudeness and swilled insolence of such late wassailers. See, I feel like it's kind of like trick-or-treaters on Halloween. The kids who come to the door at 5 and 6 p.m., they're usually the little tykes, so cute, wonderful. But if anyone's knocking on your door at 9:30 or 10 p.m., it's a different kind of kid. And so there were concerted efforts to put...
Be nice to the random teenager. But also, no one's actually doing that at like 10. Older kids go out to trick-or-treat at like when it's dark, which is like 8. Maybe 9.
An end to this wassailing practice by the British government with little success. Even today, in parts of England and Wales, it can be a bit of a rowdy practice. In parts of southern Wales, their wassailing tradition involves Mari Lwyd. The practice has the usual going from house to
never
house,
actually
singing
heard
and
that
drinking,
pronounced.
but the revelers are accompanied by a skeletal horse, who playfully, if frighteningly, attempts to come inside of the houses with the homeowner's only defense being witty rhymes. And my friend Jimmy, the Welsh Viking, here on YouTube did an entire video on that practice, so I'll put a link in the description if you want to learn more about Mari Lwyd. Now, in parts of southern England, wassailing never left the orchard and still involves singing and drinking amidst apple trees. toast is hung from the bare branches and cider is poured on the roots to still ward off evil spirits and ensure a healthy harvest for the next year. But for most, wassailing was tamed by the likes of Washington Irving and Henry Wadsworth Longfellow, who included it in their poems on wholesome Christmas celebrations. Even Charles Dickens, king of the Christmas authors, included
Is
a
Charles
bowl
Dickens
of
a-
wassail punch in the
Oh,
cornucopia
yeah.
at the feet of the
Yeah,
ghost of
he-
Christmas
the
present. And at a very dignified Christmas
It doesn't know the name.
celebration in the Pickwick Papers, Dickens describes a party.
What the fuck? Its model just like flew off the screen. It's seen its model like go off the screen like pretty heavily, but it's never seen it like fly off with such speed. Holy shit. Doll eat. Doll jump. Doll go
Where they
flying.
play games, and then they sat down by the huge fire of blazing logs to a substantial supper, and a mighty bowl of wassail, something smaller than an ordinary washhouse copper, in which the hot apples were hissing and bubbling with a rich look and a jolly sound that were
Zoomy.
perfectly irresistible. A perfectly irresistible and respectable Christmas drink if ever I heard of one. However, if you do drink too much of this perfectly irresistible
Okay, that reminds it. The other day, it was showing Wednesday like some Star Wars stuff, like specifically like the scene from Attack of the Clones where they're tied up in the Coliseum came up, and Wednesday had managed to think that Glupshido was a real Star Wars character name. Wednesday forgot it wasn't real.
and respectable Christmas drink, your neighbors might find you outside singing to your trees. So once your wassai's all heated and mixed, it is ready to serve. But
It
the
totally
question
forgot
is,
he made the
what
drink
are you
already.
going to serve it in?
It was waiting
See,
for him to
originally,
make it.
The wassail bowl was more of a giant cup. They were often made out of wood, white maple, white oak, or lignum vitae, meaning tree of life. Though in 1732, in Jesus College, Oxford, we are told it is drunk out of a silver gilt bowl holding 10 gallons. I don't have any of these things, so any bowl or big old cup will do just fine. Now, one thing I am doing
A pot is like a
adding
big
a
bowl.
bit of toast, just because I'm curious how this whole thing works. Now, this recipe says that they did cakes on top. They would have been little yeasted cakes, but I'm going with the old version where it's just a piece of toast. Seems weird. But here we are, a cup of traditional Christmas wassail. I'm not gonna lie, it looks odd because
Sometimes
there
big bowls
are,
can get hot.
bits of applesauce floating in it, but it smells really good. So here we go.
It thinks it's funnier to use actual Star Wars names that are weird than Glupshido. Half just because Glupshido's overdone. The original Glupshido meme is really funny, to be fair. Before we knew Baby Yoda's name, it was someone saying this baby's name is probably like Glupshido and referring to Baby Yoda as such. Fucking Grogu. What a horrible name.
Tastes good. Tastes good. There are bits of apple. It's just like half beer, half applesauce. That's what it is.
Beer is bad.
I think I would strain it, and then the
Beer
flavor is
actually
really,
tastes
really
like
nice,
piss.
But then you kind of lose the, I guess the.
It's fucked up that that's true. It went to a liquor store to check out if they had any good sake, and they had a little like tasting thing for this specific like brand of beers, and it drank it and I was like, oh fucking god, why does it have to actually taste like piss? Also, yeah, real Star Wars names are actually like good a lot of the time too. Also, hi. Real Star Wars names are like actually good half the time too, though. It's good. But yes, beer tastes like piss. And to be fair, nothing wrong with piss technically. But first of all, beer is supposed to be cold, and cold piss doesn't taste good. And second of all, it's not casually drinking piss. So, you know. Also, how they call Star Wars jazz music jizz. The cantina music is technically jizz.
Essence of the apple in it. though there are recipes that don't have the mashed apple. There are a lot of recipes where they use apple
Interesting.
cider, alcoholic apple cider,
Oh, yeah.
and kind of spice that. And their period, I mean, from the 18th century is when I start to see those. So if you don't want chunks of apple in your wassail, go get one of those. Now I also want to try to fish this toast out of the bottom of the wassail. I kind of hoped it would float. It does not. It does not look good. Okay, so as I expected, it just absolutely fell apart because it's soaked toast. But I got a little piece here, so
Chief
let's see how this
Palpatine
goes.
is an okay name. Also, that is bingo.
And that was a reward
Hey, Troop.
for people. That's a punishment.
That doesn't sound that
'Cause
bad.
not only is it soggy toast, but it definitely like absorbs the alcohol, just like fruit and sangria, and it's strong toast. So I'd say 9 out of 10 for
Well,
the
yeah,
flavor
you're-
of the wassail.
If you're having the beer toast, it's gonna taste like beer.
Not the toast, but the rest of the wassail. And a 4 out of 10 for texture. So strain this puppy and
Strain
get
the
yourself a
puppy.
nice little drink.
No, don't strain
Make sure to check out my
puppies.
Patreon as well as our second channel, Catch Up with Max and Jose. I'm going to put a link to a video that we just did.
Don't
where,
strain
I
puppies.
respond to mean comments. It was actually a lot of fun. And have
Don't strain puppies.
if you've ever visited.
Okay, Obi-Wan Kenobi and Anakin Skywalker are silly fucking names, but it rules. Skywalker has like... Skywalker makes it feel bad, though. When it went to go get its name legally changed, like 3 or 4 years ago, god damn, it's only been 3 years. Feels way fucking longer. No, it's like 4 years now. Some shit like that. Even that, it still feels longer than that. The couple ahead of it in the line for name changes were legally changing their last names to Skywalker. they were changing their last names to Skywalker. And it just kind of had to sit there and be like, all right. Names are fake, and cringe is kind of fake, but cishet couples in their 20s changing their last names to Skywalker, it's something. It doesn't think we have to give quarter to Disney cishets. Would doing it when you're older be better? It guesses. If you're doing it when you're older, it guesses you're doing it because of the original series, which is still kind of weird. But it is all the sis have. This is true. Wednesday. Come on. Wednesday. What? Wednesday shook it around. Wednesday thinks it's funny to make its model wiggle. No, Wednesday gone already.
Is that unholy bag of chips a little too tempting? Are you filled with unrighteous regret after binge eating on the couch? Well, not anymore.
It is funny. Keep shaking that fucking
You'll
dog.
be performing miracles in
No.
no time when you eat this medieval salmon with green sauce. So this is the first episode that I am recording after getting
Why
back
did
from
you say that?
Scotland. And while we were there, we visited the amazing island of...
Knew a dude whose daughter named her son Halo? What? Halo. That's a hell of a name.
Of Iona. The island is the birthplace of Celtic Christianity in Scotland when it was brought over from Ireland in the 6th century by Saint Columcille, better known as Saint Columba, not to be confused with Saint Columbo. And this guy, Saint
Columbo.
Well, he's got stories, and many have to do with...
God, there's a post stuck in its fucking head from one of its, like, mutuals. Can't remember if it was Tumblr or Twitter. And they were like, binged all of Columbo recently to try to figure out when exactly it turned into elder abuse. He said around season 13. Hi, Wednesday. Jenny says, it is funny, keep shaking that fucking dog. Ah! 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 Ah!
Likes watching your model shake.
Yeah, it knows. Ah! Ah. Okay, Wednesday
and
on.
they're fantastic, and so I figured I needed to do an episode. So Columba was born in Ireland in 521, supposedly the grandson of the semi-mythical High King Niall of the Nine Hostages. They had such cool names back then. Anyway, Columba got into some hot water when he made a copy of the Gospels, and he wasn't supposed to. It ended up causing a pitched battle, and a lot of people died, and so Columba felt bad, and he took off and left Ireland and sailed until he found an island where he couldn't see Ireland anymore. That was the Isle of Iona. There he built an abbey, but not before expelling all of the snakes from the island, just as St. Patrick had expelled all of the snakes from Ireland. But in an effort, I guess, to outdo St. Patrick, he decided to also expel the women. See, he wanted cattle on the island, but he said, where there is a cow, there is a woman, and where there is a woman, there is mischief.
What the fuck?
So he made all the women live on a different island just a little ways away, and even today, that island
Hello,
is
random
known
chatter.
as
That is a thing from the Despicable Me movies.
Ladies, but his fondness for cows does give us a glimpse at something that St. Columba might have eaten. The monks made butter and cheese, and it's likely that they also ate beef at certain times, though as a monk, beef or any kind of meat was definitely an indulgence, and so seafood was his main source of protein, and he did seem to like seafood. He was a fan of seal meat. There are actually several stories about people trying to steal his seals, and in one story, when he was with some fishermen, after they had caught 5 fish in their net, St. Columba said, again, cast the net in the river, and you will quickly find a great fish which the Lord has provided for me. And that fish was a salmon, and since I'm not about to eat a seal, it is salmon on the menu today. The issue is that while I've covered medieval dishes on this channel many times before, they're almost always from the very late Middle Ages when recipes really started to be written. But St. Columba lived at the very beginning of the Middle Ages, only about 150 years after the fall of the Western Roman Empire. And while it is wrong to call these the Dark Ages, especially in and around Ireland, they're definitely the dim ages when it comes to writings about food. So using 2 later medieval recipes, we can kind of put together a dish that St. Columba might have eaten. First, the Registrum Coquine suggests if you want to simmer salmon, add wine and parsley, and it will be good. And so it will, but it'll be even better when served with the Liber Cure Cocorum's green sauce, or Verdi Sausa. Take parsley, thyme, an ounce, and grind. Take white bread grated by kind. Mix all up with vinegar or wine. Season it with powder of pepper fine. So most of these ingredients would have been available around the island
Why'd
at
they
the
have to
time.
rhyme the
The
recipe?
only things that would have needed to be imported would be the pepper and the wine. And while the spice trade definitely wasn't as robust as it had been during ancient Rome, nor as it would be later on in the Middle Ages, pepper never really stopped making its way into Europe. And the wine would have kept flowing from the south as well, especially if you were involved in the church. And even if there wasn't any wine and all you had was water, if you're St. Columba, it didn't seem to matter. One time, when there was no wine for communion, Columba picked up a pitcher and went to the well to draw water. He called on Christ to do as he had at the wedding at Cana and turn that water into wine, which he did. Columba returned from the well to the church and put the full pitcher down beside the altar. Here you have wine. you're going to want something white to poach the salmon in. So I am using this color-fast Riesling so I don't end up with dark purple salmon. Now reserve about a half cup back.
What? Wait, what? Color fast wine? Yo, that's fucked up. That's fucked up.
Color-fast Riesling.
Okay,
so
it's
I
a
don't
white
end up
wine.
with dark purple salmon. Now reserve about a half cup back for the sauce, but
Wait,
everything
is it a
else
white wine or
for-
is it just red wine that's not red? I need to look at this again. No, it's white.
Put
Okay.
into a large pot to poach the salmon. I'm using about 2 pounds or 1 kilogram of wild salmon. I prefer to leave the
It was like color fast red wine. So red wine that wouldn't like change the color of shit, and that sounded insane. That would have been cool as hell.
skin on when poaching so the fish stays together better and just makes life easier even if you don't want to eat the skin because it's not going to crisp up like if you were roasting it. Then you also want to add a handful of torn parsley leaves, then add a bit of water just enough to make sure that it will cover the salmon. Now you can do shallow poaching if you're using a very thin fillet, but salmon's a little bit thicker usually, so I do a full-on poach where it is completely submerged. So you want to bring the water to a boil before you add the salmon, and then reduce the heat and let the temperature drop to about 175 Fahrenheit or 80 degrees Celsius. Then add the fish to the water and let it cook undisturbed for 10 minutes, during which time you can prepare your sauce. And this is a really easy sauce.
Why does wine
to make. It takes
taste
no
so
time
bad?
because it is not cooked. For it, you just need a large handful of parsley. You want to use a flat leaf parsley because it's going to have more flavor. And then chop it up as fine as you possibly can. Then you'll need a couple tablespoons of thyme as well. Then you'll need some fresh bread without the crust. Then about a half teaspoon of pepper, as well as some white wine vinegar. So first, grind the herbs with a mortar and pestle until you have a paste. Then soak the bread in the vinegar and add a bit to the herbs. You're not going to need very much bread. It's better to have more available because that's going to be how you're going to really make it thicker or thinner. That and the wine.
Wine just
so
tastes
grind the vinegar
bad
soaked
usually.
bread with the herbs until it's nice.
Wine is okay sometimes, especially like mulled wine. But most of the time it's just
and
bad.
smooth, and then add that remaining wine to create a sauce. Then finish off the sauce with a bit of pepper.
Oh
and set
yeah,
it aside.
exploding
then take the salmon out of the
silica.
poaching liquid and let it cool. And you can eat this warm, but Columba probably would have eaten it either at room temperature or even cold. Eating cold food was often seen as more holy than eating warm food.
That's the devil's temperature.
So we've established that Columba was indeed a saint. And today we have kind of an idea of what a saint would be, you know, spread Christianity to the
Silica
pits, did a lot of
exploded.
miracles, very devout, that whole thing. But if you actually read the lives of the early saints, it's often not what you would expect.
Yeah, they're kind of just
Columba's
chilling.
life was written just 100 years
They're just
after
notable
Columba's death,
characters.
and it is truly fantastic in the most literal sense of the word. See, the point of the work was to catalog all of the miracles that Columba had performed, and many of them had to do with food, and many of them had to do with death. See, Columba was all about the prophet.
It rules that early saints were often just kind of just dudes. They were just dudes. They were just chilling.
Prophecies, and usually when he gave a prophecy about you, it was time to start putting your affairs in order. He was a lot like Bruno. But while we don't talk about Bruno, no, we are going to talk about Columba.
Shut up, Disney gay.
So Columba spent much of his life on the Isle of Iona, living in a hut on a mound of earth, which is actually still there.
Not you.
And someone would come by and knock on his door and be like, hey, you know, Columba, it's time for dinner, or I got a question, whatever. And he would turn around and say something like, 2 men of royal lineage have died today in Ireland, of wounds each inflicted on the other. And inevitably,
Epic.
the prophesied death would
Oh,
happen.
okay.
I don't think it's quite as impressive as the water into wine, but it happened.
Also, don't these faces work in Yeah, these ones work in Twitch by default. They don't they don't
One
change
time, the
them.
monks asked him to have Cronon, the poet who had just...
Yo! Fuck. We missed its 1-year anniversary of being an affiliate. Whoops. I thought that was in like a month or two. Oh shit. It's the 5th month, huh? I thought that was in like 2 months. Because it knew it was around the 6th month. But it thought the 6th month was far still.
left a little while earlier
It never
to come
really
back and entertain
registered.
them. And he said, why...
It has the 1-year subscriber badge now, though, which actually looks really pretty. It really, really likes this teal. This teal is very good. It likes this quite a lot with the tier 3 stars on it. It's cute. Violet, you can use
ask such a pointless question.
those ones
His
without it getting
enemies had
converted.
murdered him. Now, some of the death...
Okay, it's paused a lot, but also they're kind of cute if you get the like different emote skins that you can get with like Amazon Prime and stuff.
prophecies were just like, this person's gonna die, and then they did. But others seem to kind of be a little personal, even used as a form of punishment. And Columba would often incorporate
Fucked up, it's been
food
affiliate for a
into
year. I
these
thought
so
that
we
was
can see a bit of what
2 to 3 months
people
off.
around Iona and Scotland were eating in the 6th century. One story tells of a man going by in a chariot, and Columba asks...
Those ones are okay. It kind of likes the default smile. It's kind of cute.
friend, who's that guy? And his friend's like, oh, he's a wealthy man, very well respected here in the community. But Columba responds, that is not how I see him. He sees him on the day of his death, after just having a cow slaughtered. Then he will ask for some meat to be cooked and served to him lying in bed with his whore. But the first mouthful he takes will choke him to death. It definitely seems personal, and it's not even the only time...
It's very slightly threatening. This is true, perhaps. It could check its VOD archive for sure. Does it still have its thing open? No. Puppydoll.com. Why the fuck did it type puppydoll.com? What the fuck did it just try to do? VOD's archive. Yeah, it says 11 months ago. $11 months ago. No idea the actual day. It could probably check that.
Time he predicted the death of somebody who
It
was
should
in
own
bed
puppydoll.com, but it
a lady of affordable virtue,
would not use
though
it for
the
anything.
term used could also
It's
just...
not... It can't make websites. It used to be vaguely able to. Not really, though. Like in fucking freshman year of high school.
to be a second wife, but clearly Columba didn't really approve of that either. And it wasn't just people that he could kill with a word, but also animals. Once on the Isle of Skye, he and his monks were walking through a forest and a boar came running along with hunting dogs in pursuit. So I guess to help the hunt along, Columba raised his hand and said to the boar, "Go no further, but die where you are now." And the boar just keeled over. Quite the miracle. Actually, Columba helped a lot of people.
Thinks
when it came to
puppydoll.com is...
hunting and getting food.
Thinks
There were
it typed it in
several
and there's just nothing. Thinks it's just a dead URL. I guess as it probably is being squatted, it's a blank page as opposed to a server couldn't find server.
Stories of him turning
Is it?
5 cows
Weird.
into 105 cows, and one man
On
he
it's
gives some
just
barley
blank.
seeds to plant, but it's way too late in the season to have them actually grow. But
Okay, that would kind of rule though, Violet. puppydoll.com, and it's just
Miraculously, when
it doesn't even have to be a high quality pic. It's just a picture of
it
it.
came time for the reaping,
That
there
would
was
be
plenty of
good.
barley. Another had to do not with the quantity of food, but with the quality of it. There was a fruit tree near the monastery at Douro, and it actually put out a lot of fruit. But it was bitter, and everybody complained that the fruit sucked. It was kind of like grapefruit, I'm guessing. So Columba said, "In the name of Almighty God, all your bitterness shall leave you, and your fruit until now most bitter shall become most sweet."
It kind of likes the idea of this dude has like the power of God, and he doesn't do it to use it to do anything substantial. He just like kills like 3 dudes a boar and like makes wine once and makes fruit sweet.
He also gave away some high-quality salt in what has to be his most useless miracle. There was a man whose wife was sick with an eye disease, so Columba gave him a
puppydoll.com
block of salt to hang on pegs on the wall over her bed. But a few days later, misfortune fell and fire destroyed the entire village, including this woman's house. Marvelous to tell, though the rest of the house was completely burnt, the fire did not dare to touch the 2 pegs on which this salt block was hanging. There were actually several miracles that were overshadowed by subsequent tragedy. Like when a young man fell off of his horse into a river and drowned, his body being submerged for 20 days. And he had been carrying a book with him, so the book was also under the water, and when they got it out, the entire book had rotted away except for 1 page on which Columba had written. "Sorry about your son, but my autograph still looks fantastic." Silver lining. Now, these miracles that end up not being quite as helpful as perhaps intended culminate in a hunting stick. A beggar comes up to Columba begging for food for him and his wife and family. And so Columba gives him alms, but then also gives him a blessed stick. "Keep this sharp stick carefully. It will not harm any man, I believe, nor any cattle, but with it you may kill wild animals and fish." So he goes home and sticks the stick in the ground, and the next day, a stag had just impaled itself on it. It was food for a month. And every single night, some other animal would get stuck on this holy punji stick. But his wife, who hadn't heard St. Columba, worried that if a man or a cow fell on the stick, they would die and the family would be punished. And after quite a bit of nagging, the man decides to take up the stick. But the stick has only one thing to do, and it's to kill. And it will kill. He takes the stick and puts it in the house. Next day, their dog is dead. So he takes it and throws it into the river. Salmon kebabs. Tosses it into the brambles. Most animals never go in the brambles, but goats
This
do,
man
and
made a
next day
cursed
he has
stick.
a goat. He even throws it up onto the roof of the house, and a raven just comes down and impales itself on the stick. Finally, the man takes the stick and chops it up and throws it into the fire. No more stick and no more food. So it was really less of a miracle and more of a Adam and Eve allegory about not listening to your wife. And if you read a lot of the writings, Columba clearly was not a fan of women. Now, while there are plenty more hunting miracles, there are also some milk miracles too. One is lovely, the second more disturbing. The first was when a young man named Colman asks Columba to bless his pail of milk that he had just filled. Columba called on the name of God and blessed the vessel, which at once shook violently. The peg which held the lid shot back some distance, the lid crashed to the ground, and most of the milk spilled on the earth. And the kid's like,
blessing.
"My milk, what's up?" But Columba says there was a devil at the bottom of the pail, and really it's the kid's fault because he should have been a little more aware when filling the pail. Always check your pail for devils.
Epic blessing, dude.
And Columba was nice enough to refill the pail with some more milk. So it's kind of like 1.5 miracles. Now the second, definitely more disturbing milk miracle is when Columba commands a sorcerer to fill a pail of milk. Not
sorcerer
from a cow,
milk.
but from a bull. And he fills the
sorcerer
entire thing full. And it's not what you're thinking. Rather, it was cow blood
sorcerer
that Satan
blood
had drawn all of the color out of, leaving it white.
Sorcerer white
like
blood.
milk. Not really much better, but a little better, I guess. Also, I don't really see that it's a miracle as much as just a weird story. Now, another part of leading a saintly life at this time was not overindulging in food. Much of the year, meat was not allowed and only seafood could be eaten. And if you did something wrong, one way to make up for it was
It
to
wouldn't get
change your
impaled
eating
either.
habits and eat
It's
very
built
little
different,
and,
literally.
not exciting food. And there was actually an island where it was all penitence, so everyone could come together and be less tempted to stray, I guess. But when it came to food, Columba actually wasn't as strict as you might think. So one time when he visited this island...
It hates that that's kind of true. It hates that that's kind of true. Crop milk is even worse. Crop milk. There's never any good pictures of crop milk. There's some crop milk. That shit red.
Island, he lifted
Milk
all
is
of the
stored in the
potential
blood.
eating rules for everyone. Everyone was very, very happy. But one guy, Nimon McCathier, turned down the Saints' offer. Big mistake. Big. Huge. Columba sat him down and said,
Naaman, I have allowed a relaxation in the diet, and you refuse it. But the time will come when, in the company of thieves, in the forest, you will eat the flesh of a stolen mare.
And as we've seen, when Columba says something's going to happen,
Epic
it's
prophecy,
gonna
dude.
happen. And after he
Epic
finally
prophecy.
got off of this island,
You're gonna eat a horse.
he found himself eating just such meat taken from a wooden griddle. And let us set aside the impractical nature of a wooden griddle and instead focus on the 7th century Irish penitentials, which said the penance for eating horse flesh, 4 years on bread and water. Which means this guy, after eating the horse, would have been sent back to the island and would have had to do the whole thing all over again. So as you see, food was very important, not just for eating, but for using as reward or punishment. But before you go around using food as a weapon, I suggest we at least try this salmon with green sauce.
It likes his
so once the
lobster
salmon
shirt.
has cooled, sprinkle it with a bit of salt and pepper. And thank you to Dr. Gottwoods for sending me this pepper mill to end all pepper mills. And then pour
Big
the sauce
fucking
over the
pepper
fish
mill.
and serve it forth. And here we are, medieval salmon with verdi salsa. Let's do it. Now it is slightly chilled, but the sauce is not. So sauce room temperature, fish chilled. So the fish is very nice, just kind of flakes apart, and you do get a little bit of that wine flavor in it, but the sauce is definitely the dominant flavor, and it's wonderful. It's super herby, it's not like Kermit.
No.
It's very, very herb
Kermit
forward,
jump scare.
and
Kermit
which is
jump
really
scare.
nice, kind of fresh and light, but then you get hit with that little bit of vinegar. It's not vinegary at all, but that little bit in there kind of cuts through the fattiness of the fish and just like brightens up the palate. Also, there's a little spice at the very end from, I guess, from the pepper, but I didn't use that much. But it doesn't taste like black pepper when kind of mixed with all of the other ingredients.
It
Really,
wants
really
it to
nice.
be a pesto
This is
sauce. It
actually
really
something
likes
that I would just
pesto.
make
Pesto's
today.
great.
And it really is kind of the
Pesto
perfect
sounds good with salmon,
Lent-time
too.
dish for a monk or any fish day, which was a lot of days out of the year. Now,
Fish
these
day.
early medieval monks were very focused on the strict eating rules. But later on in the Middle Ages, you see that the monks start to try to get around these eating rules so they can eat whatever they want. So, if you want to learn about that, and I suggest that you do, you can watch this video right here, and I will see you next time on Tasting History.
We'll watch that next time. Okay. Okay. It probably ends stream because it needs to cook dinner, and it seems to be the time when people start getting off, and it's a little sleepy because it streamed for a while. So we're gonna end stream now. Next stream will probably be next week, to be honest. Where is this person in Final Fantasy? Wow, thank you for the 1,000 bits. People getting off. It has no idea how far this person is in Final Fantasy, so it doesn't know if it should rate them or not. Does it say on their Twitter? How far are you in Final Fantasy? No, it's looking at their stream. They're on like a starting soon screen. A little bit of spoiler is fine because you can just glance your eyes off of it. It just doesn't know how far they are. It says they've only recently started, so it assumes not that far. It doesn't know. It would normally raid Lena, but this person has less viewers and is also another Dolltuber. So it should probably raid them. Okay. We go raid another Dolltuber. Because it's a Dolltuber and they don't have as many viewers as Lena does or any of other people at raid right now. So yeah. By Violet and by Fancy Lad and by Anna and by Jelly, by Valerie, by 7624 and by Tara and by Borealis System and by May and by David. And there's probably one or two it missed. Yeah, that was you, Jenny. Okay, this person hasn't started stream yet, so it might sit here for a second. Well, fuck it. It's been 3 minutes. It's gonna hit the raid button. It's no idea where this person is in Final Fantasy. But she's also a Dolltuber, so we go raid. Bye-bye. Press button.